If it's happening,
it's here.
CFAX 1070.
Hello, good morning. It is 6 o'clock on Thursday, June 11th. Sunshine today. We've got temperatures up to 18 degrees, maybe a little cooler by the windy water. We'll get you a full forecast in a moment. Right now, let's say good morning and get to the 6 o'clock news with Lisa Best.
Good morning and good news for one construction site in the city. The Point Ellis, or Bay Street Bridge as we know it, reopens to two-way traffic in just under an hour from now, or exactly an hour. It's at 7 o'clock. The city of Victoria says that the bridge will reopen, but it does remain an active construction zone for the next few weeks, so there may still be partial closures ahead. Drivers asked to reduce speed and watch for crews on the route. There may be a need for some overnight closures still moving forward due to touch-ups on the bridge, but for now, at 7, it's open for you in both directions. West Shore RCMP are cautioning parents after receiving 3 complaints of a violent online group that has targeted children to victimize and recruit them. The group, known as 764, which is part of a larger online network called The Calm, it's a virtual group that conducts illegal activities, glorifying violence, cruelty, and gore. West Shore Corporal Nancy Sagar outlines what happens in the local cases.
In our particular cases, we have 3 children between the ages of 10 and 14 years old who have been coerced into sexual exploitation online. They've been coerced into committing violence against themselves. And then putting that content out, giving it to the perpetrator. And so we really want to warn parents against this and also really create awareness, what to look for in your child, certain behaviors that you can watch for that would alert you to something like this happening.
Police say there are several warning signs. The other ones include kids receiving anonymous gifts or items delivered to the home. The federal government listed 764 as a terrorist entity back in December. We're going to hear more from Nancy Sagar. She's going to be a guest on the CFAX Morning Show next hour at 7:50. Nanaimo RCMP arresting an individual in connection with a shooting in Knowles Park on June 3rd. And officers say that they've taken a suspect into custody without incident, locating a suspect vehicle described as a luxury car, a white Audi. Charges have yet to be laid. The suspect does remain in custody, though. An internal government report says most guns involved in crime and traced by RCMP came from within Canada. The Access to Information Act, obtained in May of 24 and September 25, reports that 2 RCMP firearm-related squads are involved in the vast majority of crime guns, traced to identifiable sources in 23 and 24, originated within Canada, not smuggled from abroad. The analysis also found that of all the long guns traced and the substantial amount of handguns were domestically sourced as well. Well, the U.S. president on Wednesday telling reporters that the U.S. is not looking to renew the Canada-U.S.-Mexico Trade Agreement, or CUSMA. BC Premier David Eby says he's not sure how to take that message.
This latest comment that there's no interest in renewing or means essentially let's just continue with the existing agreement. Let's just get on with it. And that is a very different message than we've heard previously. One that I think bluntly would be welcome in terms of stability and a lot of anxieties around a renegotiation that were coming up from various businesses in British Columbia. But I don't know if that's actually what he means. I don't know if this is going to change within 24 hours. If this is the art of the deal, it looks more like a giant mess to me.
The U.S. could give 6 months' notice if pulling out of the agreement, but public comments from Trump's team suggest that's much less likely. To the latest on the war in Iran, the U.S. military launching a wave of airstrikes against the country after the U.S. president warned that Iran would, quote, pay the price for taking too long to negotiate a deal to end the war. And of course, Iran is firing back. Here's Martha Raddatz.
Iran has fired back, again launching its own missiles at U.S. bases in Kuwait and Bahrain. All the missiles intercepted, but debris damaging homes, vehicles, and causing minor injuries to a child in Bahrain.
This is, we learned the war there is sending inflation soaring, U.S.
President Trump raising eyebrows yesterday with this comment about the new inflation figures.
The numbers were great. You know what I really love? I love the inflation.
He later clarified the remark, saying he was just happy the numbers were not higher.
It's taken some time, but America's Time magazine is launching a Canadian edition.
The 103-year-old brand says the new venture, called Time Canada, will be in partnership with Toronto-based Arts House Media Group, the company behind Billboard Canada and Rolling Stone Canada. It'll combine original Canadian reporting with select content from Time's global newsroom. The magazine will publish one print edition annually and quarterly digital covers. Time Canada will debut its first cover this fall. Time CEO Jessica Sibley calls Canada one of the most exciting markets today. Karen Rebo, The Canadian Press.
That's your news to 6:05. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question. We're asking, with the loss of the Rifflandia Festival, do you think Greater Victoria is losing too many summer fun events? A complete reversal between our website and Twitter. 66% saying on our website that we have enough, and 67% on Twitter X saying that we need more summer fun. You can vote now at CFAX1070.com, Twitter X, also the iHeartRadio app. I'm Lisa Best, your news time, 6:07.
Thank you, Lisa. We are looking at a sunny day, little breeze off the water, highs to hit 18 degrees. We'll get you the full forecast in a moment. Right now, we're to the CFAX 1070 Sports. The Carolina Hurricanes set to host the Vegas Golden Knights for Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Final tonight. Carolina even the best-of-7 series at 2 games apiece on Tuesday with that 5-3 win. Both teams have gone 1-1 at home and on the road. Winnipeg Blue Bombers set to open up their CFL season on home field tonight when they welcome the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Hamilton is in search of its first win after falling 30-27 in overtime last week in Montreal to start the season. Their first home game today. Victoria Harbour Cats played the second of a 3-game series in Edmonton yesterday. Victoria with the win, 8-5, after also winning the first one back on Tuesday. So the final game of that 3-game set in Edmonton for the Harbour Cats is today, before they come back home for the weekend. On the majors, the Toronto Blue Jays are off today after a 7-4 loss to wrap up their series against the Philadelphia Phillies last night. Max Scherzer reached 3,500 strikeouts when he caught Philadelphia slugger Kyle Schwarber looking to begin the game. Scherzer becomes the 11th pitcher in league history with 3,500 strikeouts. Also last night, Seattle Mariners in action. They lost to Baltimore 7-2. And the New York Knicks made a record comeback from 29 points down and moved to the brink of their first championship since 1973 by beating the San Antonio Spurs 107-106. Former Toronto Raptor OG and Rugby tipped in the miss of Jalen Brunson's long 3-point attempt with 1.2 seconds remaining to complete the rally, giving the Knicks a 3-1 lead in the NBA Finals and 3 chances to win the title. That's your CFAX 1070 Sports to 6:09. CFAX at 70 traffic and weather at 6:10. And I think the big thing in traffic, and Lisa already mentioned this in the news, but let's just mention that come 7 o'clock today, the Bay Street Bridge is going to reopen. All of that construction, well, it's not completely done, but it's done to the point that they will have both directions going as of 7 this morning. We got our bridge back. So anyways, that's coming up. Do expect there to be some continued construction, maybe some delays here and there, maybe even some closures here and there, but overall, that bridge will return to normal as of 7 is the news from the city. Also news from the city on Pandora today. So the stretch of Pandora between Vancouver and Quadra, yes, that stretch of Pandora is going to be having what they are calling annual maintenance. It's a big cleanup, we understand, from 9 until 3 of that block of Pandora, but they're saying there will be detours for motorists, cyclists, even transit will not be able to make its regular stops for parts of that block today. So watch out for obstructions there for a bunch of modes of transportation. The weather forecast today is sunny, a little windy off the Juan de Fuca Strait, highs of 18, a little cooler by the water. Clear skies tonight, lows down to 10. Tomorrow, more sunshine, highs of 21. Saturday, sunshine, highs of 25. Sunday, sunshine, highs of 28. However, we still will stay a little breezy, so those temperatures, even though we might see those 28-degree highs come Sunday, Monday, may be feeling a bit cooler, depending on where you are in Victoria, and with some breeze expected to blow as well. Right now, we've got about 6 degrees in Saanich. It's 9 degrees in Oak Bay by the water, so it really depends on where you are. Again, there's an example of that right there. On the markets, North American stock markets will open a little later this hour, so let's take a look at how yesterday closed with Aaron Sousa.
Canadian and American markets took trading hits yesterday. Toronto's S&P TSX was down 260 to 34,151. In New York, the Dow dropped nearly 1,000 points, and the Nasdaq slipped by 509. Asian markets are mixed this morning. In Tokyo, the Nikkei edged up by 38 points. The Hang Seng in Hong Kong fell by 158. Our dollar is trading this morning at 71.58 cents U.S. Canada's Privacy Commissioner will today share his findings of an investigation into sexual deepfakes. The investigation targets non-consensual intimate images created by Elon Musk's Grok AI chatbot and spreading on X. Internal RCMP reports show most crime guns traced in 2023 and 2024 came from within Canada. The data obtained through access to information sheds light on the origins of firearms used in crimes. Canada and Turkey are restarting talks on a free trade agreement, and the Global Energy Show wraps up in Calgary today. From the Canadian Press Business Desk, I'm Aaron Sousa.
The best way to start an island morning. Ryan and Lisa on CFAX 1070.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us on this Thursday morning in Victoria. I'm Ryan. We got Lisa here on the news desk. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning.
Great to get you here. And I know if you don't commute in this part of the city, you're probably not as excited as I am. But the fact that we've learned the Bay Street Bridge, as of this morning, as of 7, is going to fully reopen in both directions with construction zone still happening. So there's still the construction zone. But I just think for the folks of Esquimalt and Vic West, this is huge news.
Well, it's huge news for me, too, coming over from Fairfield.
Yeah, because you work here.
Every day. And so going back around the noon hour, because, the JSB taking all the heat, it was tough for a couple of months there. There was, anyone who sat in it knows, there was long lineups, long backups, because along the Esquimalt Road, there's also a ton of construction putting up condos and apartments. So those two things coupled together made for a really interesting trek over the last couple of months. So we are very pleased that this is coming to fruition and on a timely fashion.
Yeah, they said June, and it's June.
Exactly.
Yeah. And just for the Johnson Street Bridge and Tillicum, so those 2 points were your 2 ways out of the Esquimalt Vic West area for the last 4 months. Mm-hmm. And so for any kind of rush hour, it was just impossible to, well, I shouldn't say impossible. It just took a lot longer to get out. And for me, I just sort of didn't leave. I've spent 4 months just sort of not going anywhere. Hunkering down, unless it was, off hours, like, evenings and weekends were okay. But during the day, I would honestly change my behavior. I would think, do I really need to go anywhere beyond this? Because I'm going to have to really want it to, leave myself an extra 40 minutes or whatever it is to get there.
Well, that's bigger city thinking, too, because anyone who lives in L.A. or any transient city like that, not cities like New York where people can get around easier because it's more condensed. You think Manhattan, but larger cities like that, you're always trying to plot your course. Saturday Night Live had that joke They had a whole bunch of people from the Bay saying, you take this street and you take that street. And
Right.
I'm going down a rabbit hole here. But if you saw that, it's so true.
It's kind of like people in England discussing train times. It's the same thing. Yeah.
But when you actually found a shortcut and you actually cut time off your travel, you win. It was like a small victory of the day. So I was kind of feeling that with the Johnson Street Bridge, and the Bay Street. And if the bridge was up for some reason,
no.
you
Anyways,
just, put it in park.
I'm very glad to have that behind us. That's the news from the city. Expect that at 7 o'clock this morning. 6:15 over to the headlines. What else is going on, Lisa?
A recent Angus Reid poll has hit the desk of Canada's Secretary of State for Sport, who is now dismissing concerns about the cost of co-hosting the World Cup. Games start tomorrow in Vancouver. That poll suggested 70% of residents in both Vancouver and Toronto believe the cost of hosting the soccer tournament is not worth the disruption. But Adam Van Couverdam says that the tournament has brought crucial upgrades to the stadiums in both cities, which will improve the type of events those venues can host in the future. Former Olympic gold medalist, kayaker, predicts Canada will embrace these games over the next few weeks as one of the coolest sporting opportunities our country has ever seen. I think we feel that way. We just don't like the money. The First Nations Justice Council of BC officially launching an effort meant to help Indigenous people navigate the police accountability process in this province. Judith Sayers, a director of the group, says the Police Accountability Unit aims to help Indigenous people by making sure their complaints against police are actually heard. Sayers, who's also the president of a local tribal council here on Vancouver Island, says many Indigenous people don't feel comfortable approaching the institutions that handle complaints against police, like the Independent Investigations Office of BC. She says accountability organizations like the Office of the Police Complaint Commissioner serve their purpose, but they don't serve Indigenous people in the way that is needed. And someone's $2 million richer. David is. The scratch and win ticket made a Victoria man a multimillionaire. David got a diamond on a $20 ticket that won the top prize of $2 million. He says he did a little dance and then called his mom. The ticket was purchased at Devonshire Vape and Cigars on Esquimalt Road. No word on David's last name, but doesn't matter. Neither of us are related to him. You can bet. David, congratulations. Well done. That is your news to 617.
Thank you, Lisa. During the show yesterday, we were reacting to the news that kind of arrived while we were on air that Rifflandia, one of Victoria's iconic music festivals, was canceled. We're no longer going to be having it, not this year, maybe not ever again. At least that's the indication from the organizers. Josh Jade on the CFAX Afternoon Show got a chance to speak to the president and CEO of Rifflandia, Nick Blasco, yesterday, and he kind of explained in his own words what led them to this decision. So let's talk about that coming up in just a moment after traffic and weather. If you see a problem out there, by the way, early in the commute, a crash, accident, something else causing trouble, let me know at 71010. 6:20. What's happening on the roads? Well, so far it's fairly light volume out of the West Shore. No crashes anywhere to speak of. And the Bay Street Bridge will be at 7 o'clock reopening both directions for the first time in about 4 months, but it is still closed fully right now up until 7 as they finish that work. For the weather forecast today, actually, you know what? I'm going to get a special guest to explain the weather for us here in a second.
Okay, now we're intrigued.
Are you ready for this?
Okay.
What's today's weather?
We can look forward to sunny with light wind and a high of 18 degrees. I'm Josie, and that's your CFAX weather update.
Oh, Josie, let's explain that.
Okay.
Start your day informed and entertained. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
So Josie is from grade 5, Millstream Elementary.
Okay.
And she was here yesterday, and that's where she delivered that weather forecast on the Josh and Jade show yesterday. She won a prize at her school, which was a tour of both CFAX and our sister station, 107.3 Virgin Radio.
Nice.
And she was such a good sport. They put her on the radio. They got her to read a weather forecast. So congrats to Josie. I thought that was really well done.
I thought so too. How old is Josie?
Grade 5.
Okay, so 10-ish?
What is grade 5? I should know this. I've
9
been
or
through
10
it.
anyway.
Yeah,
She
somewhere in
sounds
that.
about 9 or 10.
Yeah.
Well, good for her. She did a good job.
Yeah, congrats, Josie. It was great to have you here.
She gave us good weather.
Hope you have a good tour. Yeah, or hope you had a good tour. Yeah, so the rest of it, by the way, she mentioned sunny, 18 degrees. We will continue on with sunshine right through tomorrow and the weekend, with those temperatures still expected to climb by Sunday and Monday up to 28 degrees. Although they are mentioning, if you're by the water, a little cooler with the breeze. So
of course,
your experience will vary.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But still. Nice weather.
Yeah. The demise of Rifflandia. I want to talk a bit more about this because yesterday during the show, we were kind of reacting in real time to this news because it was about halfway through the program where we got the announcement from Victoria's iconic music festival, which has been going on since 2008 with a few breaks for the pandemic, but otherwise has been here, that they were no longer going to do it. And we were getting some of the explanations, things like that they've never turned a profit in all their years, and that they were having some struggles with finding the venue for this year. For instance, the Machulia lands, that area in Rock Bay where they've been for the last few years, they were no longer going to be able to access the full site because the owners had found some other uses for bits of it.
Okay.
And then the Royal Athletic Park, which used to be the home, was not going to be available for various reasons. Actually, Jeremy Caradonna, the city councillor, explained that they got a lot of the renovations. They got this big grant to fix up Royal Athletic Park, and that's kind of when they're going to be doing some of that work, so they couldn't offer it to Rifflandia. Anyways, we were reacting to all of this yesterday. But since then, we have had a chance to speak to the president and CEO, Nick Blasco. So I thought it'd be worth, in his own words, hearing his take on why they've made this difficult decision.
A lot has happened, and I'm deeply proud of it. But every year, this took more and more, more and more resources, more and more energy, just more and more of everything. And I think that, there's not one factor that pointed to it. I mean, obviously, the economics of the festival business are just brutal. Not unlike a lot of businesses right now that are really stretched, but it's a very difficult model, and it's very unforgiving, and it's also very intoxicating. You do it, and it's really fun, and it's an amazing weekend, and you get so much good feedback, and optically, experientially, it's amazing, and you have this belief that you can continue doing it year after year, and you might have a different result. But what we know is that we do it year after year, and we have very high standards of what we like to put forward, not only in the artists that we book, but the experience we want to provide. And it just became clear we couldn't really justify doing that anymore. And so it's really difficult. We've been at this place before, and, we've asked ourselves many, many times, is now the time to shut this down? And I think this year was especially especially galvanizing, towards that, insofar as we lost access to our venue. We tried unsuccessfully to get into 2 other venues, and it was sort of like pushing a boulder. And we finally, a few weeks ago, sat down and said, we'll probably be in the same position next year. There's nothing that's going to drastically change. And as a company, we're small. We're based here in Victoria, but we do a lot of things all over the place and all over the world, for that matter. And we just couldn't see putting all of the resources, manpower, finances, you name it, into it. So I think, it's a business decision at the core, but it's very emotional and very hard because it's been so formative for us and for so many people.
That, again, is the voice of Nick Blasco, president and CEO of Rifflandia, talking with Josh and Jade yesterday about the reasons they decided to cancel and just sort of stop doing that particular festival.
So what I hear the takeaway from that, the big change was they lost their venue. I think that's the biggest.
It seems like they were already feeling it, and then that was just the thing that kind of pushed them over the edge for this year.
Quite possibly, yeah. The cost of doing business, especially post-pandemic, and bringing artists in has gone through the roof, like everything else with inflation. And then if you do happen to have a lukewarm year, shall we say, where the artists that you bring in, it's hit and miss depending on the temperature of people. Are people spending their money to go to festivals? I love festivals. I will attend. But, like he said, consumers' needs and wants and needs shift. So everything coupled in there and losing the place you host in is big. Beer Fest comes to mind. Beer Fest was at Royal Athletic Park every early fall. Then it went to Topaz. Then they didn't have it last year. So Royal Athletic Park was, I thought, a gem for other events, including Harbor Cats, and we do have football there too as well. But lately it's been used just solely for that. I don't know of any festivals. Do we have the Folk Fest, one-day Folk Fest happening at Royal Athletic Park this year?
I'm not sure to tell you the truth.
I think that is at Royal Athletic Park. But beyond that, everything's been moved out of there. And it's unfortunate because I think Rifflandia, I think we all do, is a gem. And after 18 years, that's quite established.
Yeah.
So it's hard, and it's hard to get the cogs moving again when you go on hiatus or fallow for a year. And that's not what he's saying. He says we're pretty much done.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Texter at 71010 says, hey, Ryan and Lisa, if Rifflandia never turned a profit, which is what they say, why did it continue for as many years as it did? Well, the explanation they gave is they kind of hoped that, if they kept going, they'd build it up and eventually it would get there.
Yeah.
And plus, it sounds like it was a labor of love. They really loved this particular music festival and they really liked growing it and building it and hoping that it would get there one day, and it never did. Is the answer they gave us? I don't know if that helps you, listener, but that is
consider the
what we're
fact
hearing.
that music is about passion. You're a musician because you're passionate about it.
Yeah.
I follow music for the same reason. If you're passionate about it and you can bring it and people attend and enjoy it, that's a very heady experience. If you're breaking even, you're doing okay. And most organizations like that only have one or two or maybe three core people that are paid. The rest are volunteer or brought on for, short stints during the actual event. So it's just, it's really, really unfortunate to see that. We've lost the Inner Harbor concert that we usually have on the long weekend, the Victoria Symphony hosts.
Oh, yeah, the Symphony Splash is...
David Foster is having the big grand event.
Doing a big one this year, but...
on August 8th, but beyond that, it's not going to be there moving forward. So,
and also in the Ships Point area, they used to do it used to be called the Blues Bash. They renamed it, but that's no longer happening.
Right.
So there's a bunch of festivals and music events and things that are kind of going by the wayside.
It's kind of adding up here.
Which is leading to our news poll question at CFAX1070.com. Also, you can find it on Twitter, just asking how you feel about the state of festivals. So you can weigh in at CFAX1070.com or follow us on Twitter /X. We got to take a break. Maybe we'll check that in a minute. But 6:30 news coming up next with Lisa.
From CFAX 1070.
Here's what's happening around the island.
From June 11th to 27th, you can lock in for love with the BCSPCA Victoria and raise money to help injured, homeless, and vulnerable animals right here in Victoria. June 13th from 11 to 5 at Ship Point, it's the Summer of Soccer Family Fun Day. There's free music, games, and food. Details at dvba.ca/Summer of Soccer.
Get more event info at CFAX1070.com.
If it's happening, it's here.
CFAX 1070.
CFAX Victoria.
An iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
It's here.
CFAX 1070.
Good morning. It is 6:31 on Thursday, June 11th. Quick traffic note because a texter at 71010 has told me this. The Point Ellis Bridge, Bay Street, is now open.
Yay.
Just drove it eastbound. So
Right on.
7 o'clock was supposed to be when the overnight work ended. It looks like it's open early in both directions. It's great news. Traffic
That's
coming
very
up
good.
in just a moment. But first, let's get to the news. And here is Lisa.
Thank you. From the good news on the road that the Point Ellis Bay Street Bridge span is open again in both directions for traffic. Something new in the air. Harbour Air holding its ribbon cutting ceremony this morning at 10 to mark the inaugural departure of its first ever direct seaplane route between Victoria Inner Harbour and Seattle's harbour. The flight duration is about 30 minutes, so bring your passport, another option for travel available for you through the summer. As countries, including Canada, move towards social media bans to keep young people safe online, tech companies are in a tug-of-war over who should be the gatekeepers. Lisa Laporte has details.
Snapchat and Meta have argued it should be app stores rather than platforms charged with verifying the ages of users when they try to add a platform to their phones. And while Apple and Google have introduced some age gating measures on the App Store and Play Store, respectively, neither have jumped to take on the responsibility platforms are looking for.
Western University sociology professor Caitlin Mendez says trying to put the onus on one side or another is pointless because App Store owners, platforms, governments, and parents should all be involved in keeping children safe when they're using online. The Liberal government's new online safety legislation is getting reaction locally. Premier David Eby believes social media companies make a conscious decision to put business over children.
I don't believe they can't detect it. I don't believe they can't prevent it. I believe they choose not to because they see offering promise of privacy to people as being a bigger financial winner for them than actually protecting our children. And we have to reverse that. We have to ensure that protecting our children is important and protecting privacy is important, but that the shareholder value doesn't come ahead of the value of our children. And I believe that we can do that at the federal level, and I believe the federal government's on the right track on that, and we are keenly supporting their efforts to ensure safety of our kids.
This new bill covers 7 types of harmful content, including content that induces a child to harm themselves, content that incites violence, and creates hatred, and non-consensual intimate content. One of the initiatives to benefit from hosting the World Cup is BC Business Home. It's a network hub that will host a broad program of free events, including sector showcases for business, investments, government, First Nations, academic, and other partners. Jobs Minister Ravi Kahlon is commenting on this, hoping soccer will turn into business opportunities.
Major global events like the World Cup bring people together in powerful ways. They connect us to cultures, to ideas, to opportunities in every corner of the world. And here in British Columbia, we're ready to seize that opportunity, not only to welcome Team Canada and many other teams and fans from across the globe, but we're also ready to build meaningful, long-term economic relationships that will benefit the province for decades to come.
The House will open tomorrow as the games open in Vancouver. Any optimism recently shared by federal officials on improving Canada-U.S. relations seems to have been quashed yesterday by the comments from the U.S. President. CTV's Abigail Beeman has the latest on Trump's CUSMA comments and the uncertainty surrounding the opening of that new bridge in Ontario, the Gordie Howe Bridge.
Well, I'm not looking to renew it. We don't need anything that Canada has.
One unresolved issue, the future of the Gordie Howe Bridge. Today, the Prime Minister seemed to walk back his claim that it's set to open.
No big drama. If it takes a little longer, it'll take a little longer.
While Ford said he hopes Trump changes his mind, and there's currently only a ribbon cutting on the Canadian side.
Basically a ribbon cutting. I'll be attending once we actually open the bridge and we're actually driving across.
And that is your news to 6:35. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question: with the loss of the Rooflandia Festival, do you think Greater Victoria is losing too many summer fun events? Well, 66% say no, we have enough. That's on our website, but that number flips to 67% that says we need more. That's on Twitter X. You can vote now, CFAX1070.com, Twitter X, and also the iHeartRadio app. I'm Lisa Best. Your news time is 6:37.
Thank you, Lisa. The sun is shining. It's going to be a high of 18 degrees today, and you can drive both directions on the Bay Street Bridge.
Yay.
As of now, according to texters, it's opened up a bit early. Full traffic and weather coming up in a moment. Over to the sports first off. Let's talk local sports because the Victoria Harper Cats continue their 3-game set in Edmonton. They had the middle game yesterday with a win. Harper Cats 8-5 over Edmonton yesterday. And they also, Victoria won the first of these 3 games, and the final of the set goes today. In the majors, the Philadelphia Phillies homered 3 times and held off a late push from Toronto as they defeated the Blue Jays 7-4. For the Seattle Mariners, they lost to Baltimore 7-2. Carolina Hurricanes set to host the Vegas Golden Knights for Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Final tonight. Carolina evened up the best-of-7 series back on Tuesday, so 2 games apiece. That was after that 5-3 win for Carolina. Both teams have gone 1-1 at home and on the road. And the Winnipeg Blue Bombers set to open their CFL season on home field tonight when they welcome the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Hamilton is in search of its first win after falling 30-27 in overtime to Montreal. And football fever sweeping through Canada's Australian and New Zealand communities ahead of 7 World Cup matches that will be held in Vancouver. Many flying in to watch the games. Lachlan Carter and his younger brother Bailey are part of a traveling contingent of sports fans from Australia who are in the city for the soccer tournament. Lachlan says he's confident in his Socceroos. That's Australia's national men's soccer team. And he thinks they're going to have a ripper tournament.
Boys, you've done all the work. The whole country's behind you. Just rip in, give it a red-hot crack, that Aussie spirit. It won't let you down. We're behind you 100%, and so is the rest of the country.
Just out about talking to people on the streets of Vancouver, the fans that you find. Vancouver's first match for the tournament will see Australia play Turkey on Saturday. New Zealand plays at BC Place against Egypt on June 21st. Belgium on June 26th. So that's just sort of some of the Vancouver action we can expect to see at the World Cup as things get ready to go. That's your sports to 6:39.
Thinking about home renos, but the cost is too high? Think again. Explore affordable DIY options from ProTech Exterior Products at beahomepro.com.
CFAX 1070 traffic and weather. It is 6:41 on this Thursday morning. The volume delays out of the West Shore are still looking pretty typical. Nothing unusual here. No crashes or accidents. If you see otherwise, text me at 71010. Watch out later this morning. So this is coming up around 9 and then through the rest of the day. The kind of trouble block of Pandora. We're talking between Quadra and Vancouver there. I'll just make sure I got that stretch correctly. The stretch between Vancouver and Quadra. They're doing what they're calling annual maintenance, which is basically just a huge cleanup of that trouble block of Pandora. But because of that, they're expecting traffic delays. They're expecting cyclists to be detoured. They're expecting the bus stops in that stretch to not be used. The buses will be dodging that whole area as well as this big cleanup happens for the block of Pandora. That's in traffic. Also, the Bay Street Bridge is fully reopened, we hear, as of now. It's still a construction zone, so you got to obey all of that stuff, but you can go both directions as of now. A texter let us know a little earlier that it's open, and they drove over it going eastbound, which is not something we've been able to do for the last 4 months. For the weather forecast, sunshine today, highs of 18 degrees, a little cooler by the water. Tomorrow, it's sunshine, highs of 21, but cooler by the water. Saturday, highs of 25. Sunday, highs of 28. Monday, highs of 28 as well. So that's still the forecast, although we are getting a sense that it's going to be a bit breezy still off the Juan-to-Fuca Strait. So despite those really high temperatures, if you're near the water, it's going to feel a lot cooler. Let's check the markets. Well, actually, there's not much to check because the opening bells are just ringing. No results yet from the day, but I'll tell you that yesterday the S&P TSX was down 290 to 34,151. The Dow dropped 953. NASDAQ was down 509. Canadian dollar at 71.5 cents U.S. in overseas trading, which is down a little bit from yesterday's close as well. Just kind of down all over to head into today.
It's all here. News, weather, traffic, and community events. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
I love a glass that is half full. I love when we can kind of take that perspective on things. And texter at 71010 reacting to our Rifflandia chat. We were just playing some of the audio from the president and CEO of Rifflandia, Nick Blasco, explaining in his own words why they've had to call off the festival completely. And it's got us asking on our web poll, CFAX1070.com, with the demise of Rifflandia, do you think Greater Victoria is losing too many summer events? We'll get to the results of that in a second, but here's my glass half full. Thank you, Texter, for this. The Ska and Reggae Fest will happen June 24th to the 28th at Ships Point, so that's still happening.
Right.
Also at the Curling Club, they say. And then the texter reminds us as well that Jazz Fest is happening June 28th for 10 days. At various venues. In fact, we're going to be talking a lot about that next week because it's kicking off next Friday, and we're going to be interviewing some of the artists right here on the show. So, we're excited for Jazz Fest, the TD International Jazz Fest in Victoria. So just pointing out that we do still have some great summer festivals and summer fun that happen. But that said, on the news poll, if you go to CFAX1070.com, Lisa, we have one result, which is 66% saying we have enough. We're not losing too many.
Right.
But if you go to Twitter, you were saying it's the exact flip around of those results with 66% saying, yes, we are losing too many. We need more.
Yep.
Yeah. Which is kind of funny that the two are totally
completely
opposite.
Flipped.
Yeah.
It depends where you stand. If you don't go to festivals, you probably don't care. But if you do and you like to source out new music and, have that kind of experience, then of course it is a major loss to you. And if you've gone to Rifflandia for the past, 15 events that they've had on an annual basis, it does hurt. And I remember seeing Michael Franti there years ago, and it was one of the best musical experiences I've ever had. So it's sad to see some summer events go and fold like this, regardless of whether you attend or not. They do create a mood within the city, a certain vibe, and I think we lose a bit of our personality in having them walk.
Texter at 71010 says, after running weekly events at Western Speedway for over 10 years, you learn fast that it's hard to make any money at this.
Yeah.
I completely understand why Rifflandia is doing what it's doing. It'll be really, really missed. That's from one of our text messages. Thank you so much for weighing in there. And you can weigh in by going to the website, CFAX1070.com, and you can vote there. By the way, for those who need, we do have a revamped website as of late. So to find the news poll, just simply scroll down on the main page a little bit, and you find it right there on the main page. You just got to scroll down. At 6:45, what's happening in the news? Here's Lisa.
Federal government telling TELUS to simmer down. TELUS being warned by federal authorities that the company says it plans to charge customers up to $25 when they switch to new SIM card. The Vancouver-based company says in an employee memo that the charge will take effect later this week and cannot be waived. In a letter to TELUS, the CTRC, the Canada Radio, TV and Telecommunications Commission, says the charges could breach a new policy preventing industry from charging customers when they cancel, change, or activate plans. And TELUS says the new fee does not fit under the category of changes that the CRTC is trying to outlaw. So the back and forth continues. BC Premier David Eby says he's not sure what the U.S. president means when he says he's not looking to renew the continental trade deal known as CUSMA. Eby says it's quite bizarre given that the three countries are now in talks about the deal, or at least Mexico and the U.S. are. He understands that the Canada-U.S.-Mexico agreement on trade, that is, by not renewing it, the deal would expire in 10 years rather than 16, and it needs an annual review. Speaking after a virtual First Ministers meeting yesterday with Prime Minister Mark Carney, Eby says Trump's latest position feels like a bad sequel to his 1987 book, The Art of the Deal. And the U.S. and Iran have traded strikes for a second day, pushing the Middle East closer to the resumption of a full-scale war. Forget ceasefires. The American attack lasted into this morning in Iran, but Tehran has released little information on the extent of damage in the country. This was the third time this week that back-and-forth strikes have rattled the region. Iran's foreign ministry says that the U.S. attacks have effectively rendered the ceasefire meaningless. That is your news to 647.
The CFAX Summer of Rock continues all this week. If you hear a song by Guns N' Roses, text the word rock to 71010 and be entered into the draw, which we will do Monday, for tickets to see Guns N' Roses in August in Vancouver. We got Helijet flights to get you there, and Rosedale on Robson Street Hotel accommodation, which is, right there by the arena. It's just great.
Well situated.
Love this package. If you want to be entered into the draw, you got to text rock when you hear a Guns N' Roses song, and it's all powered by the Sax Point Pub in Esquimalt. Up next, cool story. It all started with a bake sale, and now several years later, it has grown into the Sydney Pride event, which will be taking place coming up soon, and we're going to talk all about it next.
The CFAX 1070 Summer of Rock. All right. Win a trip to Vancouver and catch a concert from the Sax Point Pub Summer of Rock lineup. Listen to CFAX from 6 till 6.
When you hear a clip from our Artist of the Week,
text ROCK to 71010 with your first name
to win that concert.
You'll fly with Helijet and stay at the Rosedale on Robson Suite Hotel. Brought to you by the Sax Point Pub in Esquimalt.
Stream us on the iHeartRadio app.
CFAX Morning Show brought to you by Thrifty Foods. Right now, through June 17th, receive 1,000 Scene Plus points for every $200 Smile card you purchase in-store at Thrifty Foods. On the roads, Bay Street Bridge, open in both directions. You're supposed to open at 7 in both directions. It opened early, so you can go both ways if you're driving around and need to make that a factor in your commute. For the rest of the conditions right now, things are looking very typical. We've got a bit of volume delay building out of the West Shore into downtown Victoria, but no crashes, no accidents, nothing else that's causing trouble. No sailing waits at BC Ferries. And the weather's looking great. Sun's out. It's going to be a high of 18 degrees, maybe a bit cooler by the water because we still have a bit of wind blowing off the Juan de Fuca Strait, and that's actually going to color the whole forecast over the next few days. Still sunny, still very warm by Sunday, Monday, those highs of 28 degrees, but we're going to always have this little bit of a breeze off the Juan de Fuca Strait, making it a bit cooler if you're kind of exposed to that side of the water. Right now for the temperatures, we're all over the place as usual. In Sydney right now it is 10 degrees. And in Oak Bay by the water, it's 11 degrees. In Saanich by Swan Lake, it's 7 degrees.
Don't attempt your morning commute without us. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
You were young and your heart.
You never know when Guns N' Roses is going to happen.
You used to say, live and let live. But if this ever-changing world in which we live in makes you give in and cry, say live and let
There you go. Text the word rock to 71010. Be entered into the contest today. A little sneaky Guns N' Roses coming at you. Okay, what's next on the program? In Sydney, this weekend, this Saturday, the Sydney Pride Festival returns. And this thing has really grown because just a few short years ago, this was just a little bake sale and raffle. Now it's this full event that's happening on Saturday. So let's learn a bit about that history here. I got Jude Wheeler on the line, who is co-founder of Sydney Pride. Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. Talk about how this all started a few years ago with a bake sale. What happened here?
Well, my partner, Carly Williams, and I had just opened a salon in Sydney, and we realized that there just wasn't a lot of visual representation of Pride celebrations, and we decided we wanted to do that, and thought a good way to do it also was to spread some excitement about it by doing a raffle, and then we had cookies donated from Surly Mermaid, and we sold those and tried to get some positivity and joy about Pride celebrations in Sydney happening.
Right, so this was, 5 years ago?
It was, yeah.
Okay, so you do that. You got the bake sale, you got the little thing, and this is just in front of your salon, you said.
That's right. We were the only ones at that point that were involved. We're just off Beacon, and it was such a success with so much positive feedback from the community that we tried to reach out to other businesses moving forward to get them involved to make it more of an event in town. And
so they kind of did that the next year, a little more. The year after,
a little bit more the next year. The next year we had Devin, who owns Moden, has a friend, Charlie, who is Henrietta Dubé, better known as, and brought them up. So that was the first time we had a drag queen around Sydney walking around. And again, more businesses involved, donating for our raffles and fundraisers, and just lots of positive feedback. So it just kept growing a little bit bigger every year.
And now, here we are, 5 years later, Saturday. What's it look like now?
It's going to be such a fun event. We're down at the bandshell at the foot of Beacon. It runs from 11 till 3. We have over 30 queer and allied vendors. We have food trucks. There's lawn games. We have drag story time. There's music, spoken word, and, of course, drag performers. We have kings and queens there doing their stuff. And it's going to be a beautiful, fun, family-friendly event.
Yeah, and family-friendly is really the key here. You want everybody to feel welcome to come down and be a part of this.
At 1 o'clock, there'll be drag story time, so make sure you're there for any little ones that want to take part in that.
To talk about sort of this, like, that's just kind of really neat that you and, the folks around you noticed 5 years ago, you know what, there's not enough visible kind of celebration here for this. We want to be that change. We want to make this happen. And it all started with this bake sale. And now look at all this. How does it feel to have gotten here?
It feels really good because we knew it was there. You just couldn't see it, because there is a lot of compassion and care and acceptance in Sydney, but you have to have the visual representation for people to see, and we've had so many grateful parents and elder queers come to say how much it means to them and how much it would have meant to them when they were younger. So it really means a lot to people that somehow in this, especially political climate, are getting villainized. And it's so important to have Sydney, all towns, but Sydney, we want our community to be that loving, accepting place.
Yeah, and you bring up a good thing that, there's a lot of stuff in the world, tensions in the news and in politics right now, particularly around this kind of thing. And sometimes you feel like maybe there's been a bit of a step back in some of these sort of sentiments of acceptance, at least, maybe not here locally, but, in a bigger picture. Given that, how important is it to have events like this right now?
It is so important. It's you can talk about that you accepted and you're fine with it, but it's important to celebrate it and tell people that they are worthy and loved, and show that when they drive by the street and they see those flags and those rainbows, it means you're safe, and that's huge.
Well, there you go. Sydney Pride. It is going to be happening Saturday, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. This is right down at the foot of Beacon, right by the waterfront park there. You got the band shell, all that. It's going to be going on there. And I'm talking to Jude Wheeler, who's the co-founder of Sydney Pride, who started this with that bake sale just a few short years ago. And here you go. It's grown up. And we're launching into this. And I guess it's all part of Pride Month, too, right? That's June here.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the whole month. Yeah.
Well,
and there's events all over the island, but, come see our little one.
Yeah, that's so good. If you're out in Sydney, or if you're just, living in Sydney, this is a great thing to think about this weekend. Thank you so much for telling us about it. Much appreciated.
Thank you. Take care. Happy Pride.
Yeah, you too. Okay, well, we will take a break in just a moment. 7 o'clock news next with Lisa. We will be giving you the sports, the traffic, the weather, everything you need to know, including the fact that the Bay Street Bridge is open both directions. I know I'm talking about that a lot. It's just, it's such a big deal. As a guy who lives in Esquimalt who can finally leave town. We have updates on all of that coming up next.
CFAX Victoria.
An iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
it's here.
CFAX 1070.
Good morning, 7 o'clock on Thursday, June 11th. A sunny day today. Highs of 18. A little cooler by the water is what you can expect, and we'll get you the full details in just a moment. But right now, the news begins, and here is Lisa Best.
Thanks, Ryan, and good morning. BC Premier David Eby says he's not sure what the U.S. president means when he says he's not looking to renew the continental trade deal known as CUSMA. The Premier says his understanding of the Canada-U.S.-Mexico agreement on trade is that by not renewing it, the deal would expire in 10 years instead of 16 and would need an annual review.
Obviously, 16 years would be more desirable for British Columbia and Canada to have that stability. But a bit bizarre if the president doesn't want to renegotiate CUSMA, then what are we doing? Let's just get on with business. Let's have both sides respect the agreement, and let's continue with the existing CUSMA agreement.
EB says Trump's latest position feels like a bad sequel to his 1987 book, The Art of the Deal, and he calls this one a pretty lame one. Internal RCMP reports say the vast majority of crime guns traced by RCMP in this country came within our borders.
Of the guns the RCMP traced to identifiable sources in 2023 and 2024, only a minority were smuggled in from abroad. The analyses found almost all of the long guns traced and a substantial number of handguns were domestically sourced. The figures are the latest available from the RCMP and give new insight into the origins of firearms involved in crimes, ranging from break and enter to homicide. The Canadian Press used the Access to Information Act to obtain more recent data, and most of those crime guns were also from within the country. Jason White, The Canadian Press.
Canadian country musician Cora Blund, who hails from Wild Rose Country, Alberta, performed twice in Victoria last month, but he's been busy since. He's now submitted more than 200,000 signatures from people in that province that want the government to prohibit new coal mining in the Rocky Mountains. Lund says he expects the Smith government to honor the wishes of those who signed.
We've had canvassers from every corner of the province, and we've had signatures from almost every one of the 87 ridings, from rural communities and small towns and cities and First Nations communities. So it's been a very wide swath of the Alberta public who have said very clearly to the government that they don't want irresponsible foreign coal mining at the headwaters of our rivers in the eastern slopes of the Rocky Mountains.
He knows his stuff. If the signatures are verified, Premier Danielle Smith's government in Alberta must either ban new coal mining or hold a province-wide referendum on the subject. They already have one of those going on. The CEO of the biggest artificial intelligence companies in the world out with a new warning on the potential dangers of the technology if it falls into the wrong hands.
Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei is raising a red flag about the dangers of the rapid advancement of artificial intelligence.
We need to collect better data on what's happening.
In a lengthy essay, Amodei, whose AI company is valued at nearly $1 trillion, says the release of AI models should be blocked or reversed as a threat to public safety if they do not meet high standards of safety.
I think the justified anger comes from the fact that there are real risks to this technology. Now we're proposing stronger regulation of the technology.
And Amodei believes that this tech is more good than bad, but he says that he's still concerned about the risks.
Meanwhile, shortly after posting on social media this morning, he says he plans to hit Iran very hard tonight. The U.S. president phoned in to Fox in France to discuss his ongoing plans for Iran taking over the Karg Island. That's a major Iranian oil processing site. The U.S. president says the country is totally decimated and dying to make a deal.
We can walk in there tomorrow. We could take soldiers. I don't want to have boots on the ground, but if I wanted to, we could put a small group of soldiers and take over the whole place. They're finished.
In other news, Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen says he was left in a state of awe and gratitude during the Artemis 2 mission around the moon. At an event in Halifax, Hansen shared his thoughts, learning why Canadians were paying so much attention and supporting his crew from afar.
I knew the space nerds like me would watch, but I didn't expect that others would relate to it so closely. The fact that they seem to really connect with four humans, lifting one another up, working together, doing something really hard with an amazing team of support behind us, but having fun doing it. That's really touching.
Hansen says the four-person crew first heard about the widespread public support while speaking with their families on their way back from the moon. And speaking of stars, some of the big names being added to the David Foster Foundation's August 8th event in Victoria is growing longer. Joining Foster on stage that evening will be special guests CeeLo Green and Lauren Aldred. Foster Foundation CEO Mike Ravenhill says this is going to be a bang-up show.
David wanted this to be very special for Victoria. He wanted this to be a free concert that people could enjoy incredible world-class talent and just enjoy Victoria sitting on the legislature lawn or in the Inner Harbor to take in some of the greatest artists of all time.
Also joining David on stage will be his wife, Catherine McPhee, a Broadway name in her own right. Josh Groban will be there, and the Tenors as the other headliners. That's your news to 7:05. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question with the loss of the Rifflandia Festival. Do you think Greater Victoria is losing too many summer fun events? On our website, 66% are saying no, we have enough, but yet 67% on Twitter X say we need more. You can vote CFAX1070.com, Twitter X, or the iHeartRadio app. I'm Lisa Bastian, News Time 7:07.
Thank you, Lisa. A few moments ago, we were talking about the Sydney Pride Festival that'll be taking place on Saturday. So that's coming up right down by where the band shell is at the foot of Beacon. Texter at 71010 says, good morning. Saturna Island Pride Parade and Celebration is also the 13th of June, this Saturday. It's in its 5th year. Busy getting my red convertible ready to participate again this year. That's from Stephen.
Well, it's a good reason to roll it out, right?
Oh, yeah, exactly. Thank you for that. Thank you for the tip. And let's just quickly mention that the weather's looking great for all of those festivals and everything happening this weekend, because we got sunshine today and then right through the next few days with the temperatures still warming up as we get towards the weekend. We'll get you a full forecast in just a moment. Right now, it's 11 degrees in the sunshine in Victoria. Over to the CFAX 1070 Sports. Baseball. Victoria Harper Cats played the second of a 3-game series in Edmonton yesterday. Victoria winning 8-5 after also winning the first match on Tuesday. So looking good for the Harper Cats matchup against Edmonton, with the final game of that set going today. Toronto Blue Jays are off today after a 7-4 loss, which wrapped up their series against the Philadelphia Phillies last night. Seattle Mariners lost to Baltimore 7-2 as well. In basketball, New York Knicks made a record comeback from 29 points down and moved to the brink of their first championship since 1973 by beating the San Antonio Spurs 107-106 last night. And tonight, the Carolina Hurricanes set to host the Vegas Golden Knights for Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Final. Carolina even the best-of-7 series at 2 games apiece back on Tuesday with a 5-3 win. Both teams have gone 1-1 at home and on the road. CFAX 1070 Sports Time is 7:09. CFAX 1070 traffic and weather for the roads. It's looking pretty typical right now. No crashes, no accidents. The volume delays are still fairly light out of the West Shore into downtown Victoria and surrounding area, at least comparatively speaking. Bay Street Bridge is open in both directions and will be for now. They've now got to that stage of the construction. It's still a construction site on the Bay Street Bridge, but they do have both lanes now open through the day. Big news. For the ferries, no waits. We've got an 8 o'clock sailing coming up with about half of the vehicle deck space still available. And in the weather forecast, let's get the details here. Sunshine today, a little breeze off the water, which is going to make it feel a bit cooler if you're by the Juan de Fuca Strait, but highs of 18 degrees otherwise. Clear skies overnight, still breezy, lows down to 10. Tomorrow, sunshine, highs of 21, but again, cooler by the water and a little breezy. Saturday, sunshine, highs of 25, but cooler by the water. Sunshine on Sunday, highs of 28. So we're still expecting those warm temperatures, but more like 20 if you're where the wind blows on shore. And that'll be the same story for Monday. Kind of the same forecast. Sunday, Monday. That's where the big heat is happening. Right now, though, around the region, it's a little cooler than that. Shawnigan Lake is showing 7 degrees right now. And by the University of Victoria in Saanich, it's already 14 degrees. On the markets, let's get a first look at these numbers as things start to rebound a little bit from some losses yesterday. S&P TSX in Toronto up 374 to 34,525. The Dow Jones is up 455 to 50,374. The Nasdaq is up 256 to 25,426. Canadian dollar at 71.4 cents US, which is down just a fraction of a cent from yesterday's close.
Thanks for starting your day with us. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
Well, things have really been getting going in Vancouver as they prepare to host the World Cup. A lot of activity already happening, as we've been hearing, but has as much hotel activity been happening as they might have hoped? I've been noticing this story a lot in the American news coverage of the World Cup. There have been a ton of stories out about how the hotels in the host cities in the United States have been underperforming. This has been a story that's kind of emerging.
That's right.
I've been just seeing that pop up all over the place. So it was interesting to hear a look at Vancouver specifically and how the analytics are playing out. So this U.S. hotel data firm called CoStar shows that as of June 1st, occupancy in Vancouver for the first FIFA World Cup match, which is this Saturday between Australia and Turkey, it's only 57.4%. Which is that's a lot of space available. That's down from 71.6% if you take the same period of time a year ago. So a year ago, no World Cup happening. Their occupancy rate was 71.6%. As of June 1st, it was sitting at 57.4%, like almost half of.
So people are avoiding it?
Well, I'm not sure. Occupancy rates for other dates with World Cup games are even lower, apparently. BC Jobs Minister Ravi Kahlon was speaking to this, and he does say that bookings are increasing.
And second, we do have some hotel spaces available for the round of 16 and the round of 32. But what's typical with these major games is until you know who's playing in those games, people are not booking their tickets to come here. So we're going to have to wait to see who gets through. We want it to be Canada. We want them to be in the 32 and 16, and whoever they play will be, obviously their fans will be coming.
So he's suggesting for those later games, once we know who's kind of got through the group stages and who will be playing, then we might see a flurry of activity. But
to actually have it down year over year, when June is a really prime time for visiting the city and the area.
It's curious. Now, Kahlon says Vancouver does have the highest occupancy rates among the 14 host cities. So we're not looking great, but we're better than everybody else, I guess. And one of the, I don't know if this is, I don't know.
Question.
Yeah. I don't know if this is the Vancouver case, but I was reading some of the coverage about some of the American cities, and FIFA did a study about this. And one of the, I don't know if it was FIFA who did a study. Sorry, I shouldn't say that, but there was a study on the FIFA effect. And one of the takeaways was that FIFA had block booked a whole bunch of hotels, like way back when things first got announced.
Okay.
And then that kind of created a bunch of, a sense of scarcity, drove up the prices, but then closer to, they released a bunch of those bookings. Because they block booked some stuff just to hold some space, way more than they actually needed just to hold it to make sure. And then they released a bunch of it, so then a whole bunch of stuff became available. But at that point, the scarcity feeling had been created, the prices had been driven up, and that might have affected the hotel bookings down the road. That was one of the things the study found.
Yeah. And the thing is, why is FIFA block booking so many rooms?
Yeah. Texture 71010 says maybe when hotels jack up prices on a nightly stay, that's what's going on. Yeah, like the prices were really expensive. They've been coming down though. I've understood. My sense is,
well, the first game in Vancouver is tomorrow, so time is nigh.
But if you booked a hotel like a couple of months ago versus now, apparently the prices are lower than they were. So yeah. Anyways, that's just interesting. It was interesting to hear those numbers yesterday.
Why does the term "shoot yourself in the foot" come to mind when I think of FIFA now? If this is actually the truth, I mean, if you're booking to control, and squeeze out the amount of rooms available and raising the prices, then releasing them later when people can't make arrangements.
Texture says, what are the room rates compared to last year? Oh, I don't know the room rates compared to last year. I just had the bookings.
Steve was talking about room rates.
Yeah, Steve's going. Sports guy Steve, he's going to be making a trip there.
He's going to the Canada game next week. And he was talking about when he booked, and what he's decided to do is he's not staying.
Yeah,
he's coming back. He's going to go to the game, use all the great public transport that's available, and he's not staying, and partly due to the prices. Because you can't find a decent room, he says, under $500. Now, prime time, that's sort of how it looks for if you want to travel in the hub time. And with the games on, I understand that. But he says it's just cheaper for him to turn around and come back. Not everyone can do that. But economic spin-off, the hotels will be crying foul if they don't fill rooms. Those rooms should be sold out with an event of this tenure happening, of this magnitude happening. When are you going to see the games again, especially locally? So he was pricing rooms, and if you can get a deal, take a deal. It all depends what it's worth to you, though. And some people, if you're not into soccer and you want to go to Vancouver, you're going to go at a different time.
Well, we'll follow that, but just an interesting report out yesterday on the state of hotel occupancy for the World Cup in Vancouver. 7:17 now with the headlines. Here's Lisa.
We'll talk other numbers. Transit AT reporting a $79 million loss in its second quarter as it was hit by rising fuel prices and the suspension of flights to Cuba. The Canadian Travel Company says this compares with a loss of nearly $23 million in the same quarter last year. Revenue totaled just over $1 billion for the quarter, down from less than that a year earlier. The Transit Chief Executive Anik Garad says the results were disappointing as factors largely beyond the company's control severely impacted profitability, namely the U.S. squeezing fuel supplements to Cuba. Dollarama reporting a first quarter profit of $302 million. Sales increased at Dollarama more than 20%. A lot of people shopping bargains, and that store was having it for them. The profit compares to $274 million made in the first quarter last year. The retailer says growth was driven by the total number of stores in Canada, higher comparable store sales, and its Australian acquisition of the Recheck shop, not here yet, but coming. Comparable store sales in Canada for the quarter were up nearly 6%. And Iran is being warned by the U.S. president that the U.S. will hit the country very hard tonight. That's his words. Posting on Truth Social, the president says the operation to assume total control of Iran's oil and gas market and infrastructure will be taking place at some point in the not-too-distant future. Again, his words. That, according to Trump, he would be seizing Iran's Karg Island, a key port for oil going in and out. That's your news to 7:19.
Workers in Colwood, the municipal workers, have issued a 92% strike vote, citing health-related leave trade-offs as a key issue in their labor dispute with the municipality. We're going to talk more about that next. CFAX Morning Show brought to you by Coastal Heat Pumps. For a comfortable home no matter the season, big savings on your heating bill. Talk to Coastal Heat Pumps. Designed for comfort, the South Island's Elite Plus Fujitsu Air Stage dealer. Taking a look at what's happening out there on the roads, the West Shore commute's looking fairly typical. We're seeing the volume delays build up, but they're better than they could be. If you see anything causing specific trouble, crash, accident, other problem, text me at 71010. Bay Street Bridge is now open in both directions. It's still a construction zone, but they do have traffic flowing both ways, which is a big update from the city of Victoria, and that is now open. Come 9 o'clock today, watch out for major obstructions on Pandora between Quadra and Vancouver. Yes, it's kind of that stretch of Pandora. The city says they're doing a big maintenance, they call it, but it is going to involve some lane closures, bike lane closures. The bus stops aren't going to be active in that stretch during this as well, and it's going to go right through the day. So come 9 o'clock, watch out for Pandora to be quite obstructed for all modes of transportation in that block. BC Ferries, no sailing waits for the weather. It is sunny. It is a high of 18 degrees, a bit cooler by the water. Tonight, clear skies, lows to 10. And then the sunshine continues right for the next 6 or 7 days. We have temperatures peaking Sunday, Monday at 28 degrees, but we are looking at what should be a kind of breezy situation off the Wantafuca Strait continuing right through the next few days, which will make it feel a bit cooler if you're by the water.
In the kitchen, in the car, and at the office. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070. Take us with you. Listen live on the free iHeartRadio app.
Well, labor unrest for the municipality of Colwood. We want to cover it here, and I believe, let's see if I've got the right person on the line here. President of CUPE Local 374, the union representing municipal workers in Colwood. Is this Shireen Clark?
It is.
Okay, great. Glad to get you on the line. Thank you for connecting. We wanted to talk about this because we learned just this week that there's been a 92% vote in favor of strike action on the part of the workers. I think for some people, you might not have even known that there was a negotiation going on for Colwood with the workers and that it had been going sideways. So we thought maybe we'd get you on to explain what's happening.
Yeah, well, I mean, for people in the region, normally we all go at the same time. There's 13 municipalities in Greater Victoria. We're all going. Colwood was the last one. We were put up a little bit, so it was a little bit later, just for unforeseen circumstances. But yeah, we hit an impasse, and we have very different perspectives on the outlying issues, and we really didn't see it getting to this far. But taking a strike action, obviously 92% shows a pretty strong favor from the members that they support the bargaining committee and the outlying issues with the employer.
How many workers in Colwood are we talking about here?
70.
So, and this is everybody from people at City Hall to park staff to all of that?
All the staff, yes.
All the staff. Okay, so that's who we're talking about. You're in this negotiation. You got a strike vote. What are the sticking points? What's happened to cause negotiations to break down here?
So generally, like in the region, we all kind of bargain similarly. We all talk, all the locals. So the wages, we try to get similar wages for all the municipalities within Greater Victoria. So for us to be able to reach the same wage package as the rest of the region, the employer wants us to take something out of the collective agreement. So that's a huge sticking point. We don't bargain concessions. So taking something out of the collective agreement to get what everybody else had is a hard no for the union.
Okay, yeah. So hey, we'll give you the raise like everybody else, but we're taking some of the benefits away. Is that the idea?
Correct. It's the sticking point. I know it was out there in the press release yesterday from the employer as medical appointments. We in 374, all of our units have an article in the collective agreement that you can attend medical appointments up to 2 hours. It doesn't come out of anything. It's not drawn out of your sick time. It's not drawn out of anything. It's been in the collective agreement for years, decades, and they would like to remove that and make it come from the current existing sick time. So if somebody that has had a severe injury or sickness that is now benefiting from going and attending appointments, which are hard to do in today's day with very many people in Victoria not with the doctor, now they want it to come out of your sick time. So if you've eaten up all your sick time, now you would have to go without time to go to these appointments.
So you put it to a strike vote, and I understand you're awaiting an essential services order from the Labor Relations Board. Talk about that.
That came in last night.
Okay, so what's the update there?
There's not much deemed essential services for Colwood, which we kind of expected. As you may know, there's a medical clinic, so that was the one sticking point. So there's a medical clinic that opened in Colwood. We have one member in that clinic, but other than that, nothing was really deemed essential in the city of Colwood.
So with that in mind, what kind of disruptions could we see?
Well, we are set to go to mediation on Saturday, so we are hopeful that that the mediator can come in and help us find a resolution before any strike action has to be taken. We want to make as much least disruption for both members and the residents.
Okay, so maybe mediation solves this, and you said you're heading into that this weekend?
Yeah, we just got confirmation of that late last night as well. The mediator that we had from the Labour Board previously has reached out and has set a date for us to bring us back to the table.
Okay, well, that's the situation in Colwood as the two sides, the employer and the employees, are struggling to get to a deal. We've got Shireen Clark, president of CUPE Local 374 here, the union representing municipal workers in Colwood. Anything else to add? Anything else you want people to know about this?
Yeah, we just... we don't want to see that our employees, we don't want to go backwards. It's really hard to recruit in Victoria because we've got 13 municipalities and people compete with each other, and we don't want to see this go backwards and for our colleagues in Colwood to be overworked because they can't recruit good workers to work alongside them because they've now lost something that everybody else has.
Well, thank you for giving us the update. Good luck with this, and maybe we'll touch base if things develop. It looks like, maybe, who knows, maybe the mediation talks will solve this, but let's stay in touch.
That would be great. Okay, great. Thank you so much.
All right, cheers. Yeah, getting to the bottom of that story. One of the things we're following this week in the news. And what else is going on in the news? Lisa Best with the top stories of the day next. Your traffic and weather, too, all next.
Where the noise stops and the conversation begins.
Hey, it's Friday. Welcome to the Graham Richardson Show.
The stories that shaped your week aren't just headlines. They are the moments we live through and the decisions that change what comes next.
Let's take a closer look at that together.
It's national conversations. From major policy shifts to the fun, unexpected trends and friends everyone will be talking about. It is intelligent, unpredictable, and completely Canadian. Stay informed. Stay ahead. The Graham Richardson Show. Friday morning at 9 a.m. Right here on CFAX 1070. CFAX Victoria.
An iHeartRadio station. If it's happening,
it's here.
CFAX 1070.
Good morning, 7:30 on Thursday, June 11th. More sunshine today. In fact, we got nothing but sunshine for the next few days. We'll tell you all about it in just a moment. Yeah, the weather to come right now. The news begins, and here is Lisa.
The other good news is clear sailing across the Point Ellis Bridge in both directions. It has fully reopened to two-way traffic this morning around 7. City of Victoria says the bridge remains an active construction zone for the next few weeks, though, as they do final patch-ups. Drivers still asked to reduce speed, follow postage signage, and, of course, watch for crews on site. They say there may be a need for some more overnight closures to complete the work moving forward, but they'll let us know when exactly that is expected to happen. For the time being, both ways are open across the bridge. West Shore CMP cautioning parents after receiving 3 complaints of a violent online group that has targeted children to victimize and recruit them. The group is known as 764, which is part of a larger online network called The Calm, a virtual group that conducts illegal activities. Corporal Nancy Sager outlines what happens in the local cases.
In our particular cases, we have 3 children between the ages of 10 and 14 years old who have been coerced into sexual exploitation online. They've been coerced into committing violence against themselves. And then putting that content out, giving it to the perpetrator. And so we really want to warn parents against this and also really create awareness, what to look for in your child, certain behaviors that you can watch for that would alert you to something like this happening.
Police say one of the other warning signs parents should watch for is children receiving anonymous gifts or items delivered to the home. If they're demonstrating an affinity for gore, interested in suicide, or spend more time on the internet unsupervised or secretly. The federal government listed 764 as a terrorist entity last year. We'll hear more from Nancy Sagar. She's going to be a guest on the CFAX Morning Show in less than 20 minutes' time at 7:50. Nanaimo RCMP investigating an individual in connection with the June 3rd shooting. It was in Knowles Park. RCMP took the suspect into custody, and also a vehicle, a white Audi. Charges have yet to be laid, but they say the suspect remains in custody. An internal government report says most guns involved in crime and traced by RCMP came from within Canada. The Canadian Press used the Access to Information Act to obtain the May 24 and September 25 report from 2 RCMP firearm-related squads. The vast majority of the gun crimes are traced to identifiable sources in 23 and 24. They say they originated in Canada, not smuggled from abroad. The analysis also found that almost all of the long guns traced and a substantial number of handguns were also domestically sourced. The U.S. president telling reporters Wednesday the U.S. is not looking to renew the CUSMA, the Canada-U.S.-Mexico Trade Agreement. BC Premier David Eby says he doesn't know how to unpack that message.
This latest comment that there's no interest in renewing or means essentially let's just continue with the existing agreement. Let's just get on with it. And that is a very different message than we've heard previously. One that I think bluntly would be welcome in terms of stability and a lot of anxieties around a renegotiation that were coming up from various businesses in British Columbia. But I don't know if that's actually what he means. I don't know if this is going to change within 24 hours. If this is the art of the deal, it looks more like a giant mess to me.
The U.S. could give 6 months' notice it's pulling out of the agreement, but public comments from Trump's team suggest that is much less likely. Meanwhile, the war with Iran, the U.S. military launching a wave of new airstrikes against the country. The U.S. president warning that if Iran would, quote, pay the price for taking too long to negotiate a deal.
Iran has fired back, again launching its own missiles at U.S. bases in Kuwait and Bahrain. All the missiles intercepted, but debris damaging homes, vehicles, and causing minor injuries to a child in Bahrain.
And that war is sending inflation soaring stateside.
President Trump raising eyebrows yesterday with this comment about the new inflation figures.
The numbers were great. You know what I really love? I love the inflation.
He later clarified the remark, saying he was just happy the numbers were not higher.
And FIFA President Gianni Infantino has defended World Cup ticket prices, saying they align with North American sports. Ticket for the 48-nation tournament, which starts tomorrow in Vancouver, 7 games anyways, generally start at about $140 US, with tickets for the World Cup game reaching up to $33,000. Infantino claims the average ticket price is less than $500 US, and that's comparable to U.S. sports. He says he's unconcerned about investigations by attorney generals in several states into price fixing. That's your news to 7:35. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question this morning. We're asking, with the loss of Rifflandia, do you think Greater Victoria is losing too many summer fun events? Well, on our website, 66% are saying, no, we have enough, but that flips to 67% on Twitter X saying, we need a lot more summer fun to come. You can vote now, CFAX1070.com, Twitter X, also the iHeartRadio app. I'm Lisa Bastian, News Time, 7:37.
Thank you, Lisa. We have sunshine today. Right now, we're sitting at 11 degrees in Victoria. Eventually, a high of 18, cooler by the water. Get you a full forecast in a moment. Right now, over to CFAX 1070 Sports. Lots happening. Let's talk about the FIFA World Cup kicking off today with the first matches of a record 48-team tournament co-hosted by Canada, the United States, and Mexico. We aren't seeing the Canadian games today, but Mexico opens the competition against South Africa in Mexico City today, while South Korea faces the Czech Republic in Guadalajara. For Canada, we open the tournament tomorrow against Bosnia-Herzegovina in Toronto. The first Vancouver games will be Saturday. That's an Australia game. So that is going to be all kicking off today after all of that anticipation. The FIFA World Cup begins. Carolina Hurricanes host Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Final tonight with their series against the Vegas Golden Knights tied at 2 games apiece. Vegas looking to regain control of the series after a 5-3 loss in Game 4 and will need more production from their star players if they want to get that going. At least that's what the experts are saying. For the CFL, the Hamilton Tiger Cats visit the Winnipeg Blue Bombers tonight in CFL action. Winnipeg is 1-0 after a 30-28 season opening win over Calgary. Hamilton seeking the first win of the season after a 30-27 overtime loss to Montreal. Local baseball, Victoria Harper-Cats still on the road. They're playing the final of 3 games against Edmonton in Edmonton. Victoria won the first 2 games, including yesterday's 8-5 win. And that final game of that 3-game set is today before Victoria then comes home for the weekend. And the Toronto Blue Jays, they were in action with a loss yesterday. The Philadelphia Phillies homered 3 times, held off a late push from Toronto, and defeated the Blue Jays 7-4. That completes that series there, and that completes your CFAX Sports to 7:39.
Show with Tony Joe.
Everyone wants to know about real estate. Is the market going up or down? Time to buy or sell? How can government programs and policies affect you? Hear from local experts on topics like appraisal, inspection, investment, and others on how to maximize your real estate sale.
Providing info on everything you needed to know about real estate. The Whole Home Show with Tony Joe. Saturdays at noon on CFAX 1070.
CFAX Morning Show brought to you by Bluebird Cabs. Need a cab? Download the new Bluebird Cabs app at Bluebird Cabs Ltd. They're proudly local and Canadian owned and run since 1946. Okay, let's take a look at the traffic. What's happening on the roads? Well, not much as far as crashes or accidents. Nothing unusual out there. Fairly typical volume delays out of the West Shore into Victoria. We will note again that the Bay Street Bridge opened in both directions. After 4 months of no going eastbound eastbound. We now have that eastbound lane as well as the westbound lane open. Still a construction zone, but the traffic is flowing. The City of Victoria warning that the 900 block of Pandora, yes, that block of Pandora will be very obstructed today. They're doing what they call maintenance. There's everything from cleaning up the debris to mowing the lawns to just washing the sidewalks. All of that's going to be happening today from 9 and then until 3, they say. Because of that, buses will be affected, bike lanes will be affected, and vehicle lanes at times to be affected. So watch out for that obstruction starting at 9. No waits at BC Ferries for the weather. Sunshine today, highs up to 18, cooler by the water. Clear skies overnight, lows to 10. Tomorrow, sunshine, highs of 21, again, cooler by the water. Saturday and Sunday, still sunny with those temperatures still creeping up to a high of 28 by Sunday and Monday, but the conditions might feel a lot cooler if you're by the windy Juan de Fuca Strait. So a very different experience, I think, when it comes to the heat this weekend, depending on where you are in Greater Victoria. It's always the way. CFAX business news. We're making some gains on the markets after some losses yesterday. S&P TSX in Toronto up 246 at this hour to 34,398. The Dow is up 342 to 50,261. NASDAQ up 179 to 25,349. Canadian dollar is at 71.4 cents U.S., which is down from yesterday by a couple of fractions of a cent.
Ryan and Lisa. Mornings on CFAX 1070. Remember, you have us in the palm of your hand. For listeners on the go, listen live on the free iHeartRadio app.
When you host a morning show like Lisa and I do, you think a lot about sleep. And that's got us thinking science.
What are the limits of human knowledge?
Welcome to the Nerd Lab.
Yes, science!
CFAX science stuff.
Science! Yeah! Blinded me with science!
I don't know what that means.
With Ryan and Lisa.
Lisa, you've got some sleep-related science for us.
Sure do. You know, we talk about teens, how we're always ribbing teens about how much sleep they need.
Yeah.
Well, the science, of course, has proven that teens, because, the synapses are firing so greatly, they actually need more sleep than the average person. But when we break it down to genders, there's a difference there, too. Women actually need more sleep than men do.
Really?
Yeah. The big reason is the greater mental load they carry every day. This is science. Studies show women average 11 minutes more of rest per night. But it's not just biology. From multitasking at work to managing the family responsibilities, juggling everything, combining that with hormonal cycles and high rates of insomnia and anxiety, women's sleep is disrupted more often. The constant juggling creates more cognitive and emotional fatigue, meaning female brains need extra time to recover. Scientists say it's not that women simply sleep longer, but their sleep must make up for the daily weight of stress, planning, and invisible labor. So the takeaway here, the greater mental load that women bear doesn't end at bedtime. It actually follows them into their sleep patterns, which demands more rest to recharge. So they're saying 11 minutes more, which doesn't sound like a lot. But as we all know from getting a good night's sleep or a bad, that really matters. You can sleep 12 hours poorly, or you can sleep 7 hours well, and you feel more rested after 7 hours. So when it comes to genders, there actually is a difference. So women are kind of like teens. They need more rest because of the amount of multitasking they're doing throughout the day. So we ask you, how'd you sleep last night?
Yeah. And do you feel, do you notice this in your own relationship?
Exactly.
My wife certainly will sleep a little longer than me.
Will she choose to sleep in?
If she can.
Okay.
Yeah.
My sister's like that. She's like, if I can have a nap, if I can sleep in, that's great. Go ahead.
My problem is, since I started doing this show where I have to wake up in the morning, now the weekend comes around and I just wake up and I'm like, what? I wanted to sleep in, but my body's just telling me, like, nope, this is when you wake up now.
Well, this kind of job, we sit down every day to a fire hose of information. So it's not your body necessarily that wakes up. That happens around 8 o'clock for us. It's our minds that have to be awake. So by 5 o'clock, your mind is saying hello on a Saturday morning that you're missing something. And so that's why doing this job, anyways, anybody who does a similar job knows it's really hard to sleep in and break that pattern. It takes about 3 or 4 days for your body to go, okay, I don't have to wake up and do something, right? Yeah. People that sort of pummel themselves into the morning shift, into the morning routine, and you know what I'm talking about if you're one of those people. Sleeping in on the weekend would be, 6 a.m., whatever works for your schedule, but your mind wakes up. So rest your mind.
7-10-10. Let us know how you feel.
How'd you sleep?
Right now it's 7:45. Let's get to the headlines with Lisa.
Canada's Secretary of State not sleeping on the new poll results from Angus Reid. They're dismissing concerns about the cost of co-hosting the World Cup. This is 70% of both Vancouver and Toronto residents believe the public cost of hosting these soccer tournaments are not worth the disruption. But Adam Van Coverden says the tournament has brought crucial upgrades to the stadiums in both cities, which will improve the types of events those venues can host in the future. The Olympic gold medalist kayaker, predicts that Canada will embrace these next few weeks as one of the coolest sporting opportunities our country has ever seen. I think we all agree with that. But the cost is another matter. The First Nations Justice Council in BC officially launching an effort meant to help Indigenous people navigate the police accountability process in this province. Judith Sayers, the director of the group, says the Police Accountability Unit aims to help the Indigenous people to make sure their complaints against police are heard. She's the president of a local tribal council on Vancouver Island. She says many Indigenous people don't feel comfortable approaching institutions that handle complaints against police, like the Independent Investigations Office of BC. She says accountability organizations like the Office of the Police Complaints Commissioner serve their purpose, but they don't serve Indigenous people in the way that is needed. And a pillar of the Langford community lost in early May will be remembered this weekend. A 5K cycle planned for Saturday morning will honor the life and legacy of Lillian Spock. Participants are asked to decorate their bicycles with daisies, which was one of Lillian's favorite flowers. A public celebration of life will follow an hour later at 10 Saturday morning. That happens at the Dogwood Auditorium at Royal Roads University Langford campus. First elected in 2002, Councillor Spock lived in Langford for more than 30 years, dedicating 2 decades of her life to public service and community advocacy. That's your news to 747.
Texters weighing in on sleep.
Yep.
Saying, I get little sleep, 12-hour shifts, reset my body clock, although I don't work shifts any longer. So you had them, now your body clock is reset.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Takes a while.
Texter at 71010 says, that's why I wish I had a 3-day weekend. I would gladly work longer days to have 3 days off so I could fully decompress.
Mm-hmm.
This texter says, I sleep till the robins start chirping. Oh, well, that means you're not sleeping very long these days. They get going real early right now. The sun is up so early. We're almost at solstice. It's almost the longest time of the year. This texter says, hey, Ryan and Lisa, I used to wake up at 3:40 a.m. for work. I haven't worked since September 2020, and I still can't sleep in and wake up at the same time. But it is nice to watch the sunrise.
Get an early start on the day anyway.
Yeah, and then good morning, morning team.
Mm-hmm.
As a 32-year teacher, so teaching for 32 years, the first 2 weeks of July is for resting. So there you go. Get all your sleep in those 2 weeks.
Get the kids out of your system.
Crazy thing for me, months into retirement, to get out of the routine of school break times for lunch, recess, and bathroom times. So you're still kind of locked into those routines.
Oh, I never even thought of that.
Funny.
That's crazy, hey? How our bodies get so used, our minds get so used to schedule.
Yeah.
Wild.
This texter says, my daily routine is to wake up in time to watch CFAX at 6 a.m. Thank you for that.
We're here for you.
And this texter says, Nerd Lab, is this new? I love it. Yeah, that's our science report
it's our
with
science
Lisa.
Stuff.
Every time Lisa finds a good science story, we're going to give you a Nerd Lab. Okay, well, we got to take a break. Traffic and weather coming up, too. And then we do have to get a little serious here because the West Shore RCMP, we've been learning in the news, investigating some reports of online exploitation of children and youth here in our community. So we're going to get into this. It is a serious topic. It does deal with issues around the exploitation of children and youth. So if you got certain sensitive ears around, just be aware that it's going to get heavy in a moment.
Good point.
But Nancy Sagar, West Shore RCMP Corporal, is joining us next to get into this. It is important information, and it's going to be a good chat. So we're going to get into that after traffic and weather.
An iHeartRadio experience. You and a pal in Montreal at Osheaga with 4 nights at Residence Inn downtown Montreal. Flights from Porter Airlines, 2 weekend gold tickets, and $1,000 cash.
Please welcome
Lord, Zara Larson, T. McRae, Somber, 21 Pilots, and more. Download iHeartRadio. Listen to this station for 10 minutes and enter to win Osheaga 2026. Every day you listen is another chance to win.
7:52. What's happening on the roads? Well, it's actually looking like a fairly typical day when it comes to the West Shore commute into Victoria. No crashes, no accidents. Usual volume delays are showing themselves. The Bay Street Bridge open both directions. Still construction zone, but they got both lanes going as of today, and it's going to be like that now moving forward. So the big eastbound closure is over, at least for the most part. For the weather forecast today, it's going to be sunny. We've got highs of 18, cooler by the water. Clear skies overnight, lows to 10, a bit breezy still overnight. And that's just kind of the picture for the next few days. While it's going to be very sunny and warm, in fact, up to 28 degrees by Sunday and Monday, it will be a little breezy all the way through by the Juan de Fuca Strait and feeling a bit cooler depending on where you are in Victoria.
Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070. Oversleepers, catch all the highlights on the latest audio podcast at CFAX1070.com and on the free iHeartRadio app.
West Shore RCMP investigating several reports of a violent online group exploiting children and youth. To learn more about this, Corporal Nancy Sagar from the West Shore RCMP joining us on the phone. Hello, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you for having me.
This is always, whenever you hear these things happening locally, it's always a little rattling. And we've been learning that, as your investigation has shown, there's a couple of groups. I don't know much about these groups, but groups called things like 764. There's something called The Calm. These big virtual communities that apparently are, preying on and victimizing minors. And you've been discovering that this has been striking close to home. So maybe talk to us about what's happened here.
Right. So right now we have 3 open investigations involving a violent online crime group that's exploiting children and youth in the West Shore. And you're right when you say it's the 764. That's what's been particularly named in our investigations as being the online group that's targeted the children in these investigations. But 764 is actually a part of a larger online network known as the CALM, which is short for the community. And what the CALM is they deliberately target, victimize, and recruit vulnerable children between the ages of 8 and 17. They're a virtual community, and it's made up of groups of individuals globally who conduct illicit activities that glorify serious violence and cruelty, gore, especially against children.
And when you're talking about recruiting, what are they getting recruited into?
To produce violent content of either children harming themselves, harming other children. And, we've talked about sextortion in the past, I think, on your show in terms of what it looks like for an adult to be extorted sexually online. However, with children, it's not about the money. This group is not after money. What they're after is more content. They're after children making content of themselves, harming themselves, and then using that content against the child to then manipulate them and get them to create even more. So it's extremely malicious, things that are happening here online. And it's taking place on online media platforms like Discord, Telegram, Roblox, Minecraft, Twitch. And, if you're a parent who's listening and this is any one of the programs here or the apps that I've described or something that your child is on, you really need to pay close attention to exactly who they're talking to on those platforms.
And how did these cases locally come about? Was it parents cluing in, or did you intercept it as police, or where? I know there's going to be stuff we can't share because we're talking about minors here, but what can you let us know about how these cases emerged?
It was a variety, actually. So it was a combination between an agency called NECMEC, which is basically they're based out of the States, and we partner with them when it comes to online extortion of children, whether that be the sexual extortion that's happening or other forms of harm that are happening online. And so we get notified by them. They act as an agency that will reach out to whatever police of jurisdiction the materials are either being sent to or from. And then you start a police investigation from there. So that's where some of the reports came from, and we did have a parent as well come forward.
And with I know can't get into specifics, but I'm just kind of curious from the parent's side, how did this individual, or just maybe in general, how could you start to notice that this stuff is happening? What signs should you watch out for?
Yeah, so I'm not going to speak to specific cases. Again, we're going to protect, the victims here as much as possible. But if you're a parent and you're wondering, okay, how do I go about figuring out if something like this is happening online with my child? So there's several things that you can do, and there's going to be some warning signs, right? So I think number one, pay attention to what program your child is or app they're using online. If you notice that they somehow have, a new online friend, they seem suddenly infatuated with somebody, or they maybe seem scared of someone online, maybe your child's receiving anonymous gifts being delivered to your home. That could include currency, gaming currency, even online, or other virtual items. If they're suddenly receiving these items, there's that old adage that nothing's ever free, right? And so that's something you need to pay attention to. If they're demonstrating an interest, if your child's demonstrating an interest or an affinity to consuming gory content, they're interested in things like self-harm, occultism, that sort of thing. Like those are things that you need to start paying attention to and having open, non-judgmental conversations with them. I mean, I can't stress that enough. The quickest way to get a child to really close off and not tell you anything is to really judge them for it. So if you open yourself up as a parent and say, like, I'm here to listen, I'm not here to judge, you'll get way more information out of your child. And if you also notice things like, there's one of the things that this group has encouraged children to do is to write in blood or what appears to be blood. So if you're noticing that in the bedroom or on the carpet, that sort of thing, you need to start asking more questions and paying more attention. Now, if your child is online and they're interacting and playing these games, move that gaming system or your computer or whatever it is to a location in the house where you can keep an eye on them. Having them, tucked away in their room while they're on these platforms is not a good idea. Also, very frequently check the messages in these games. This is all, monitoring well within your parental rights to really figure out and monitor what's happening with your child online. Literally read the messages because it's very clear what you'll discover in there.
Now, I'm out of time, but one last question. So we've talked about you got these 3 cases open, looking into the exploitation of children and youth involved in these groups. You've mentioned the 764, this thing called the COM, this big global online community trying to encourage these young people to do these things. Where could your investigation go, given that these are massive online communities with people who knows where in the world? Like, what are the chances of you actually being able to, bring anybody to justice for this stuff?
Yeah, like I'm not going to say that this is an easy investigation. It's not. It's got its challenges, especially when it involves, virtual crime, things that are happening over the internet, and like you said, could be happening from anywhere. Right? We're in the very beginning stages of these investigations, so I won't comment on what the chances are. I'm going to tell you that we have very dedicated police officers that are working very hard on this. And our goal is to see that justice happens here. We want to get the suspect. I mean, there's no greater victim than a vulnerable child, and so we're working diligently towards figuring out who that is.
Corporal Nancy Sagar, West Shore RCMP. Some important things to think about. This has happened. You've been investigating this locally. This is not just some theoretical thing. This can happen right here at home, and things to think about to protect your family. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right, we got to take a break. 8 o'clock news is next.
CFAX Victoria.
An iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
It's here.
CFAX 1070.
Good morning. It's 8:02 on this Thursday, June 11th. A little late for the news, so let's get right to it. And here is Lisa Best.
Thank you, Ryan, and good morning. QP Local 374 President Shireen Clark was on CFAX earlier, sharing the latest on the possibility of more than 1,000 Colwood municipal workers going on strike.
Well, we are set to go to mediation on Saturday, so we are hopeful that that the mediator can come in and help us find a resolution before any strike action has to be taken. We want to make as much least disruption for both members and the residents.
On that note, the workers voted 92% in favor of striking. Issues around sick leave and sick pay were a sticking point. The Point Ellis Bridge reopened to two-way traffic this morning after more than 3 months being closed in one direction. The City of Victoria posted that the bridge is open, but it remains an active construction zone for the next few weeks. You're asked to reduce speed and watch for crews still on the span. There will also be a need for some overnight closures moving forward to finish off the work. Harbour Air is holding a ribbon-cutting ceremony this morning at 10 to mark the inaugural departure of its first-ever direct seaplane route between Victoria and Seattle. The flight duration will be about 30 minutes. Remember your passport. And today, starting actually tomorrow, we're speaking of harbors and docking here, over 2,000 people will be visiting Victoria via cruise ships. Tomorrow, the Eurodam Royal Princess Norwegian Bliss will be coming in. Almost 10,000 people on that one ship alone. As countries, including Canada, move towards social media bans to keep young people safe online, tech companies are in a tug-of-war over who should be the gatekeepers.
Snapchat and Meta have argued it should be app stores rather than platforms charged with verifying the ages of users when they try to add a platform to their phones. And while Apple and Google have introduced some age-gating measures on the App Store and Play Store, respectively, neither have jumped to take on the responsibility platforms are looking for.
Western University sociology professor Caitlin Mendez says trying to put the onus on one side or another is pointless because App Store owners, platforms, governments, and parents should all be involved in keeping kids safe online. Liberal government is applauding the move. Premier David Eby believes social media companies make a conscious decision to put business before children.
I don't believe they can't detect it. I don't believe they can't prevent it. I believe they choose not to because they see offering promise of privacy to people as being a bigger financial winner for them than actually protecting our children. And we have to reverse that. We have to ensure that protecting our children is important and protecting privacy is important, but that the shareholder value doesn't come ahead of the value of our children. And I believe that we can do that at the federal level, and I believe the federal government's on the right track on that, and we are keenly supporting their efforts to ensure safety of our kids.
The bill covers 7 types of harmful content, including content that induces a child to harm themselves. A lot of reaction pouring into Rifflandia folding, one of Victoria's long-term festivals, 18 years. President and CEO Nick Blasco says it's been an uphill battle for a while for them.
Every year, this took more and more and more resources, more and more energy, just more and more of everything. And I think that, there's not one factor that pointed to it. I mean, obviously, the economics of the festival business are just brutal. Not unlike a lot of businesses right now that are really stretched, but it's a very difficult model and it's very unforgiving.
Blasco says the lack of a venue figured into their decision. That's your news to 8:06. our CFAX 1070 news poll question this morning. With the loss of Rifflandia, do you think Greater Victoria is losing too many fun summer events? 66% on our website say, no, we have enough. But 67% on Twitter X say, no, we need a lot more fun for the summer. You can vote now at CFAX1070.com. Also on the iHeartRadio app. I'm Lisa Best, your news times, 8:07.
Thanks, Lisa. Sun's out, 12 degrees right now as we get into the day. We'll get you a full Thursday forecast in just a moment. Right now, over to CFAX 1070 Sports, where we have the Carolina Hurricanes set to host the Vegas Golden Knights for Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Final tonight. Carolina, even the best-of-7 series back on Tuesday, 2 games apiece with their 5-3 win. And both teams have gone 1-1 at home and on the road, so we're getting ready for that tonight. Also tonight, the FIFA World Cup kicks off today with the first matches. We're not seeing the ones in Canada yet. We're going to start this record 48-team tournament co-hosted by Canada, the United States, and Mexico, with games in Mexico to start things off. We will see South Africa against Mexico in Mexico City. South Korea faces the Czech Republic in Guadalajara. So that's the first action today. For Canada, we open the tournament tomorrow against Bosnia-Herzegovina. That's Toronto tomorrow. Saturday, Vancouver gets some action with the Australia game. So there we go. FIFA World Cup. It's arrived as of today. There it is. Victoria Harper Cats played the second of a 3-game series in Edmonton yesterday. Victoria with the win, 8-5. After also winning the first on Tuesday. Final game of that set is today before the Harper Cats then turn around and come back home after this trip to Edmonton. Toronto Blue Jays are off today after a 7-4 loss, which wrapped up their series against the Philadelphia Phillies last night. Max Scherzer reached 3,500 strikeouts when he caught Philadelphia slugger Kyle Schwarber looking to begin the game. Scherzer becomes the 11th pitcher in big league history with 3,500 strikeouts. Also, the Seattle Mariners in action. They lost to Baltimore 7-2 yesterday. And the New York Knicks made a record comeback from 29 points down and moved to the brink of their first championship since 1973 by beating the San Antonio Spurs 107-106 last night. That's your sports to 8:09. CFAX Morning Show brought to you by Thrifty Foods. Right now through June 17th, receive 1,000 Scene Plus points for every $200 Smile Card you purchase in-store at Thrifty Foods. Okay, to the traffic and weather, and I got a text message here at 7:10:10. It reads in big capital letters, traffic alert, Yates Street between Fernwood Road and Cook Street. They say it was backed up like gridlock yesterday. This is yesterday. Bumper to bumper due to construction at Cook and Yates. And the texter says that should continue through this work week. So, yeah, watch out for that. Construction continuing. And maybe Yates between Fernwood and Cook there could be a bit backed up because of it. Another thing that's happening today is Pandora. They're doing what the city calls maintenance in the 900 block of Pandora. You know the block. A lot of traffic obstructions that'll include the bike lane, and apparently bus stops won't be working per usual in that block because of, well, what is, I think, going to be a lot of debris cleanup. They're going to be washing the streets. They're going to be removing stuff in the 900 block. So that kind of cleanup is going on today. It will affect all modes of travel through that block. For the weather forecast, well, I would like to actually hear from a special voice here as we talk about what the weather's doing today.
We can look forward to sunny with light wind and a high of 18 degrees. I'm Josie, and that's your CFAX weather update.
So great to have Josie from Millstream Elementary in grade 5 visiting the station yesterday, where she gave us that little weather forecast.
She gave us good weather, too.
So good with that sunshine. And I'll tell you, Josie, after today's forecast, we have clear skies tonight, lows down to 10. Tomorrow, it's more sunshine, highs of 21, a little cooler by the water. Saturday, highs of 25, cooler by the water. Sunday, highs of 28, but again, cooler by the water, with that heat continuing into Monday. Over to the business news on the markets. S&P TSX up. Got to get that right. The S&P TSX is up 311 points to 34,463. The Dow also making gains, up 269 to 50,188. The Nasdaq also up 72 to 25,242. Canadian dollar down a couple of ticks to 71.4 cents US.
Ryan and Lisa are ready when you are.
Good morning.
Day or night, find the highlights under latest audio at CFAX1070.com and on the free iHeartRadio app.
Well, how do you sleep? We've been asking that after Lisa's science report on a study that shows women actually need 11 minutes more sleep than men.
They figured it out exactly.
Yeah. So 11 minutes more a night on average is what women need compared to men. How do you sleep? Texter at 71010 says, "Good morning, Ryan and Lisa. Thanks to my time, or should I say no thanks to my time in the Navy, when technology was not like now, I get maybe 4 years of sleep. I'm not quite sure when maybe 4 hours of sleep.
Could be 4 hours,
yeah,
yes.
I'm thinking it's supposed to be 4 hours of sleep. But yeah, I guess, because those Navy routines, you're up in the morning.
An atom.
Yeah, and you're going.
Yes. Hit the ground running pretty much when it comes to the armed forces.
Yeah. How do you sleep? Let us know at 71010. We've also got people weighing in on the festival question at CFAX1070.com for our news poll question. After we learned yesterday, but the demise of Rifflandia. We've been asking if you think we're losing too many of our big summer fun events in the city. It's mixed results on the website. You can vote if you want. But this texter says they should bring back the Festival of Lights for the Christmas season. Not Rifflandia, where it's mainly for adults. Open up an outdoor pool. Open up more indoor sports for summer for kids that aren't so expensive. So there's somebody weighing in on the state of summer festivals.
Right. Well, something to be said for CFAX Santa's, was it Slamboree?
Oh, that was cool. That
was pickleball.
Yeah.
Pickleball is extremely accessible for all demographics, and getting more children into the game, like in past, it's been considered more of a senior sport. I don't see it. I think it teaches kids how to play as a team. The racket doesn't cost much, and it teaches them math too. So that's low-hanging fruit in my mind. Easy game.
Yeah, I really like that happened. By the way, CFAX Santa's Anonymous. If you donate to our wonderful children's charity here, that's one of the things we did with the money. We granted some money to this wonderful team of people who go into the schools and they're teaching elementary school kids pickleball.
Yep.
And it all culminated last week with the Slamboree, this big pickleball tournament at the Archie Browning Arena with a bunch of the elementary school kids. It was very cool.
Where $9,000 of your donated money went to.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Okay, it's 8:15. To the headlines with Lisa.
We're breaking news of a lockdown underway at the Pentagon in the U.S. Some floors evacuated due to a hazardous materials incident. No word on exactly what that is. This is all according to CNN. Pentagon spokesperson Sean Purnell confirmed that systems within the Pentagon have detected an air quality issue necessitating precautionary measures. Parnell says the department executing standard protocol as a result. The Pentagon Forces Protection Agency Hazardous Materials Response Team is on site. We'll let you know what happens next. TELUS is being warned by federal authorities after the company says it plans to charge customers up to $25 when they switch to a new SIM card. The Vancouver-based company said in an employee memo that the charge will take effect this week and can't be waived. In a letter to TELUS, the CRTC says that charge could breach that new policy, preventing industry from charging customers when they cancel, change, or activate plans. TELUS says the new fee does not fit under the category of charges that the CRTC is trying to outlaw. So an outright battle going on there. And soccer tournaments All the rage in Langford. FIFA watch party runs today through July 19th at Langford Station. That massive screen is now up in place on Station Avenue, just in time for the opening ceremonies. 10:30 today, broadcast live from Mexico City. There's beer gardens, prizes, food trucks, vendors, and other activities, a lot of them family-oriented for you to check out. A portion of Station Avenue will be pedestrian only for the duration of the tournament, so that's creating a walkable fan zone in the heart of the city, but be aware for if you're driving, you may run into a snag there in Langford. That's your news to 8:17.
Thank you, Lisa. Well, we had this very interesting but troubling conversation with West Shore RCMP earlier in the show, where we were learning about several local cases of young people getting preyed upon by this online group that was trying to get them to not just be sexually exploited, but to commit acts of violence amongst themselves for the internet to consume. With that in mind, it was just interesting timing that we were learning about this at the exact same time that the federal government is introducing its act to clamp down on social media for those under the age of 16. Proposed age restrictions with some caveats, exceptions if these social media platforms put in some sufficient safeguards, but either way, trying to kind of limit the use of these platforms for the young folks of Canada. It's just introduced, but we're kind of getting a sense of that. We're getting some reaction to it. And my next guest, the CEO and digital literacy instructor behind The White Hatter, is somebody we turn to all the time to talk about these kind of things, Brandon Lohr. He's going to join us next for a take on these federal rules being introduced. We'll get to that right after traffic and weather. The CFAX Morning Show is brought to you by Coastal Heat Pumps. For a comfortable home no matter the season, big savings on your heating bill. Talk to Coastal Heat Pumps, designed for comfort, the South Island's Elite Plus Fujitsu Air Stage dealer. On the roads, I got a text here at 7:10:10 just pointing out that Craig Flower is still one lane alternating on Craig Flower. Where is that? Let us know at 7:10:10. But apparently a bit of a slowdown there. Another texter was mentioning that yesterday Yates was very backed up, kind of between Fernwood and Cook Street because of ongoing road work there. And that'll be continuing this week as well, so another place to watch out for. And then today, Pandora. They're cleaning up the 900 block of Pandora, doing like a big street wash, debris removal, grass mow, a bunch of stuff happening in that block of Pandora, which will affect both buses, the bike lanes, and traffic going through the area. So watch out for that as another obstruction. On the bright side, the Bay Street Bridge is now open in both directions. It's still a construction zone, but you have traffic flow going both ways on the Bay Street Bridge. For the weather forecast, it's sunny today, highs up to 18 degrees, a bit cooler by the water, and right now we're sitting at 12 degrees.
Ryan and Lisa. Mornings on CFAX 1070.
In the news, the Liberal government in Ottawa has introduced its new online safety legislation that would force social media companies to block access for kids under the age of 16. However, we're learning that there's some exemptions as well. If some of these platforms can put some sufficient kind of safeguards in place, maybe the ban doesn't have to be quite so strict. We're just kind of getting those details that were introduced yesterday. So here to react to all of this, somebody we talk to about these online safety things all the time, CEO and digital literacy instructor behind The White Hatter, Brandon Lohr, is joining us. Good to talk to you again, sir. How you doing?
Oh, good morning. Pleasure to be here as always.
Now, remind everybody again your place in all of this, because this online safety stuff is exactly what you guys deal with. But talk about what you do.
So we're mostly known working with families and kids in school, helping them make better, safer online choices is the simplest way of explaining what it is we do.
Yeah, and this exactly fits into what we're hearing from the federal government, this kind of stuff as they try to protect young folks online. What's your first impression of this bill so far and what we've learned about it?
Yeah, actually, you can imagine here in the team, we've been reading these 80 pages of the legalese over the last, 24 hours again and again. And from our assessment, it's actually much bigger than simply social media. I know they call it the Safe Social Media Act, but it includes social media, chat bots, and potentially any other online service that is available here within Canada. So it's quite a broad piece of legislation.
Yeah, it's interesting that chatbots and AI are featuring into this, because that got so much coverage during the Tumbler Ridge shooting because of OpenAI and ChatGPT having some information. I guess the shooter was involved in those chatbots, and it kind of became a big controversy there. So I guess it's not a surprise to see that stuff in there.
Not a surprise at all. And I do know when the minister, when they were doing their press conference, they really made an emphasis, especially bringing up Tumbler Ridge and all those situations we've seen both in Canada and the U.S. and even across the world of challenges. So, yeah, if we want to talk about the age limits, Canada seems to be jumping on board with the rest of what appears to be, a Commonwealth allies of putting the limit of under 16, requiring age verification. They specify also in the bill age estimation is included. So basically you can submit a government ID and or go through an age estimation tool, which if we've seen other jurisdictions like Australia and whatnot, that's what's most commonly being used. You take a photo of your face and the social platform or one of their partners will estimate how old you are if you're in or outside of that 16 bracket.
But what's to stop you from just showing a picture of your older brother or something? How do you make sure that gets not? How do you make sure people can't just find a way around all these things?
Well, that's the challenge. If we're looking through the last year and all these other laws across the world, we've had stories. The most recent story I heard was a student that was published in a media article. Was a student got a permanent black marker and drew a mustache.
Oh, and that worked?
Supposedly, reportedly in news media, that had worked. There's been other cases of young people buying a rubber mask off Amazon of like an older person because of the wrinkles. That worked. Stories of teens just sneaking their parents' driver's license. So then parents have their driver's ID being submitted to social media without them knowing about it. And yeah, that's going to be the one challenging limitation to all of this. A lot of the rules are actually not listed in the bill right now. It's going to be based on this new commission, a group of 3 to 5 politically appointed individuals who at a later date will determine what actual rules and guidelines social media, chatbots, and other online services have to follow. So we're going to be waiting probably a good 18 months, if not longer, for all of this to finally have an impact.
One other thing I just want to dial into before we run out of time is that bit about, if the platforms can do certain things, make sure certain safeguards are in place for young people online, maybe they don't have to have the full ban in those cases. What do we know about that and what those safeguards would be?
Yeah, the safeguards are not yet described. It will be up to the commission in their regulations at a later date to determine what their guidelines are. But social platforms, if they can demonstrate that they're following the guidelines, they can make an application to the commission to basically go, hey, we're doing everything right. So by default, our platform is safer for kids. So that is a possibility. All online services that are caught by this bill will have to submit a digital safety plan to the commission as well. So it's an interesting bill, and I'm sure new ideas will come from this and revelations as the day goes on. But it's quite large. I want to clarify, it's not just social media, chatbots, and potentially other large online services.
That's Brandon Lohr, CEO and digital literacy instructor behind the White Hatter, just getting a first blush look at the Digital Safety Act introduced into the House of Commons. We'll continue to follow it. I'm sure we'll talk again as we continue to digest this, but thanks for this first take.
Pleasure as always.
All right, we'll take a break. We got the 8:30 news next with Lisa Best, top stories of the day, your traffic and weather too. Lots of construction-related tie-ups in the city. We'll let you know about them next.
From CFAX 1070.
Here's what's happening around the island.
June 13th from 11 to 5 at Ship Point. It's the Summer of Soccer Family Fun Day. There's free music, games, and food. Details at dvba.ca/Summer of Soccer. Help care for local wildlife and enter to win with Wild Ark Raffle. Tickets available June 1st to 18th at spca.bc.ca.
Get more event info at CFAX1070.com.
If it's happening, it's here.
CFAX 1070.
CFAX Victoria.
An iHeartRadio station. If it's happening,
it's here.
CFAX 1070.
Good morning. It's 8:30 on this Thursday, June 11th. Another sunny day with temperatures eventually hitting a high of 18. It's 12 right now. We'll get you a full forecast in a moment. Right now, the news begins, and here is Lisa Best.
City's going to be busy heading into the weekend. People coming and going as well. Harbour Air holding a ribbon-cutting ceremony this morning at 10 to mark the inaugural departure of its first-ever direct seaplane route between Victoria and Seattle. The once-daily flight is about 30 minutes in length. The cost starts at around $149 Canadian each way. Also heading into the weekend, Victoria is expecting well over 26,000 cruise ship passengers to disembark for the day today to check out our city. Now, tomorrow, 3 ships will bring nearly 10,000 people to our shore. On Saturday, nearly 8,300 passengers will be here thanks to 2 cruise ships, and another 2 coming in on Sunday will bring nearly 8,000 visitors to Greater Victoria. The Point Ellis Bridge has reopened to two-way traffic, this after more than a 3-month-long closure in one direction to basically fortify the bridge. The city says that the bridge reopens, but it remains an active construction zone over the next few weeks. Drivers asked to reduce speed. Watch for crews on site too, because they're still working on it. There may be still some overnight closures moving forward to complete the extra work needed. A bridge over troubled water out east of us. The opening of the new Gordie Howe Bridge linking Windsor and Detroit is being delayed, and we can probably think that's due to politics. CTV's Judy Trin with the latest.
What the statement hints at is that this is an issue of politics. Canada and the U.S. have agreed to delay the opening of the bridge, taking the necessary time to resolve any outstanding issues. The Prime Minister said on Monday that the bridge would open later this week. Then we hear that yesterday, Donald Trump said that he's not interested in renewing CUSMA.
Mark Carney trying to downplay the situation, saying there's no big drama and that officials are working hard to make sure the bridge opens as soon as possible. Despite that, it's finished and it's ready, but the timeline reopening it remains murky. BC Premier David Eby not mincing words about what Donald Trump means when he says he's not looking to renew the continental trade deal. The Premier says his understanding of the Canada-US-Mexico agreement on trade is that by not renewing it, the deal would expire in 10 years instead of 16, and it would need an annual review.
Obviously, 16 years would be more desirable for British Columbia and Canada to have that stability. But a bit bizarre if the president doesn't want to renegotiate CUSMA, then what are we doing? Let's just get on with business. Let's have both sides respect the agreement, and let's continue with the existing CUSMA agreement.
Eby adds Donald Trump's latest position feels like a bad sequel to Trump's 1987 book, The Art of the Deal, and Eby calls the deal a pretty lame one. The CEO of one of the biggest artificial intelligence companies in the world is out with a new warning on the potential dangers of the technology falling into the wrong hands.
Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei is raising a red flag about the dangers of the rapid advancement of artificial intelligence.
We need to collect better data on what's happening.
In a lengthy essay, Amodei, whose AI company is valued at nearly $1 trillion, says the release of AI models should be blocked or reversed as a threat to public safety if they do not meet high standards of safety.
I think the justified anger comes from the fact that there are real risks to this technology. Now we're proposing stronger regulation of the technology.
And Amodei believes that this tech is more good than bad, but he says that he's still concerned about the risks.
And Canadian country musician Corb Lund, who performed twice in Victoria last month, has been busy. He submitted more than 200,000 signatures from citizens who want the Alberta government to prohibit new coal mining in the Rocky Mountains. Lund says he expects Danielle Smith's government to honour the wishes of those who signed.
We've had canvassers from every corner of the province, and we've had signatures from almost every one of the 87 ridings, from rural communities and small towns and cities and First Nations communities. So it's been a very wide swath of the Alberta public who have said very clearly to the government that they don't want irresponsible foreign coal mining at the headwaters of our rivers in the eastern slopes of the Rocky Mountains.
If the signatures are verified, Premier Danielle Smith's government in Alberta must either ban new coal mining or hold a province-wide referendum. And that's your news to 8:35. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question this morning, Ray, saying with the loss of Rifflandia, do you think Greater Victoria is losing too many fun summer events? 66% saying no, we have enough on our website, but that number flips to 67% saying we need more summer fun. On Twitter X, you can vote, CFAX1070.com, Twitter X, also the iHeartRadio app. And Lisa Bastion news time is 8:36.
Thank you, Lisa. Sunshine today, highs of 18. Right now it's 12 in downtown Victoria. We'll get you a full forecast in a moment. Right now, over to the sports. Hey, it's here. Actually, the FIFA World Cup of Soccer begins today in Mexico, not in Canada, but the first games are happening. But football fever is sweeping through Canada's Australian and New Zealand communities ahead of the 7 World Cup matches that are happening in Vancouver. Many have already been flying in to watch the games, and one of them who was grabbed by a reporter on the streets of Vancouver, Lachlan Carter and his younger brother Bailey. They're part of a traveling contingent of sports fans from Australia who were in the city for the soccer tournament. And Lachlan says he's confident in his Socceroos. That's the name for Australia's national men's soccer team. He thinks they're going to have a ripper of a tournament.
Boys, you've done all the work. The whole country's behind you. Just rip in, give it a red-hot crack, that Aussie spirit. It won't let you down. We're behind you 100%, and so is the rest of the country.
Yeah, everybody's arriving from all over the world, including Australia, for all of this. Vancouver's first match of the tournament is going to see Australia play Turkey on Saturday. Saturday is that first game for Vancouver. New Zealand plays at BC Place against Egypt on June 21st and against Belgium on June 26th. So those are some of the Vancouver matches. And, of course, for Team Canada, their first game is tomorrow in Toronto. And over to the rest of the sports going on. The New York Knicks made a record comeback from 29 points down and moved to the brink of their first championship since 1973 by beating the San Antonio Spurs 107-106 last night. Also yesterday, the Victoria Harbour Cats were on the road for the second of 3 games in Edmonton. Victoria won yesterday 8-5, also winning the first match on Tuesday. Final game of that set is today. For the majors, the Philadelphia Phillies homered 3 times and held off a late push from Toronto as they defeated the Blue Jays 7-4 yesterday. Seattle Mariners with a loss. They lost to Baltimore 7-2 yesterday. And the Carolina Hurricanes set to host the Vegas Golden Knights because Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Final is going tonight. And that is your sports. Oh, I'll just mention that, those in case you've lost track, the Stanley Cup Final, the series is tied at 2 games apiece heading into this Game 5. That's your sports to 8:39. CFAX 1070 traffic and weather. Texters have been pointing out the road work on Craigflower that has caused single-lane alternating traffic. It's been going for a little bit of time. It is Craigflower Road near Arm Street is the kind of epicenter of that. It's going to be continuing to cause delays there. We've also been hearing reports that the delays have been pretty bad on Yates. They've got some construction going on, which has slowed things up. It's Yates and Cook Street, which is where the construction is, but it kind of backs up as you kind of head in towards the city there. And that is already on. That construction work is going. The Pandora closures will start around 9. It's going to be obstructions for vehicle traffic, for cycling traffic, for the buses going through there. This is as the 900 block of Pandora is getting a big cleanup today. The city calls it maintenance, but a lot of it's going to be in that 900 block of Pandora, with some folks getting moved along for cleanup of the area. For the weather forecast today, we are looking at sunshine, temperatures of 18 degrees, a little cooler by the water. Clear skies tonight, lows down to 10. Tomorrow, sunshine, highs of 21, cooler by the water. Saturday, sunshine, highs of 25, but cooler by the water. Sunday, sunshine and a high of 28, so that's the warm day. Monday, about the same. However, still a little breezy by the Juan de Fuca Strait. So it's going to be a discrepancy. They're saying that it's going to feel more like 20 degrees if you're by the water, but 28 degrees if you're inland. So watch out for that come Sunday, Monday. Right now in Victoria, it's 12 degrees. On the markets, S&P TSX up 273 to 34,424. The Dow is up 351 to 50,270. The Nasdaq is up 140 to 25,309. Canadian dollar at 71.4 cents US, which is down a little bit from yesterday's close.
The best way to start an island morning. Ryan and Lisa on CFAX 1070.
Well, yesterday during the show, we were reacting to news that Rifflandia, the big music festival, is over. They are calling it quits. We were getting that first statement from them. Coming up in just a few moments, one of the guys who covers all of these musical things in the city very well is the Times columnist's Mike Devlin. He covers the entertainment beat, and he's going to join us for his take on this in just a few moments. So wait for that. But we did also talk to Nick Blasco, who's the CEO and president of Rifflandia. He spoke with Josh and Jade yesterday. It was a chance to kind of hear from him in his own words about why they've made the decision to end Rifflandia.
A lot has happened, and I'm deeply proud of it, but every year, this took more and more resources, more and more energy, just more and more of everything. And I think that, there's not one factor that pointed to it. I mean, obviously the economics of the festival business are just brutal. Not unlike a lot of, businesses right now that are really stretched, but it's a very difficult model, and it's very unforgiving, and it's also very intoxicating. You do it and it's really fun and it's an amazing weekend and you get so much good feedback, and, optically, experientially, it's amazing. And you have this belief that, you can continue doing it year after year and you might have a different result. But what we know is that we do it year after year, and we have very high standards of what we like to put forward, not only in the artists that we book, but the experience we want to provide. And it just became clear we couldn't really justify doing that anymore, and so it's really difficult. We've been at this place before, and we've asked ourselves many times: is now the time to shut this down? And I think this year was especially especially galvanizing, towards that, insofar as we lost access to our venue. We tried unsuccessfully to get into two other venues, and it was sort of like pushing a boulder, and we finally, a few weeks ago, sat down and said, we'll probably be in the same position next year. There's nothing that's going to drastically change.
That's Nick Blasco, president of Rifflandia, talking about the decision behind calling it off. And we'll get a reaction from Mike Devlin from the Times Colonist next, Lisa.
Sounds like it's been something in the back of their minds for a number of years.
Yeah, he mentioned a little later in the interview that this was probably going to be the last one anyways. If they did pull off one this year, it wasn't going to continue afterwards. And they were hoping to do a big blowout final event, but it just didn't come together.
That's really unfortunate. Yeah. Losing something that is sort of, I don't know, I think defines, I just love the name too. It defines Victoria.
Yeah.
I've always liked, before I even moved here, I loved the idea of Rifflandia and everything it represented.
That's a good point, because, we live here, so we are just kind of familiar with it. But this was a fairly well-known music festival beyond Victoria. People would travel here for this.
One year I came from Ottawa just for Rifflandia.
Yeah.
So, case in point, I came to see the show and the artists that they brought. So it is a sad loss. And what's next is the big thing. And Mike can probably share some on that.
Yeah, well, we'll get into that in just a few moments. Stand by. But right now, let's get to the news headlines. What's going on in the world? Here's Lisa.
A Toronto police officer shot in an exchange of gunfire has died. The police chief of the city says the officer died during a search for a suspect potentially linked to other shootings, including one at the U.S. consulate in March. They say Constable Mark Panzotti, 43 years old, was shot while conducting a search warrant. He'd been on the force for 18 years. Transat AT reporting a $79 million loss in the second quarter. It was hit by the rising fuel prices and the suspension of flights to Cuba. The Canadian travel company says this compares with a nearly $23 million loss in the same quarter of last year. Dollarama is doing well. A lot of people shopping bargains, reporting its first quarter profit of around $302 million, sales increasing more than 20%. The profit compares to $274 million made in the first quarter of last year. Comparable store sales in Canada for the quarter were up 5.6%. And Iran is being warned by the U.S. president that the U.S. will hit the country very hard tonight. Those are his words. Posting on Truth Social today, the president said an operation to assume total control of Iran's oil and gas markets and infrastructure would be in place at some point in the not-too-distant future. That, according to Trump, would include seizing the key Karg Island that is currently maintained by Iran. That is your news to 846.
CFAX traffic and weather coming up. We're getting a lot of feedback from listeners about just the state of downtown roads, whether it's Yates or Pandora or the Bay Street Bridge being open in both directions as of today, which is exciting news. Anyways, if you got a sense of how things are flowing, let us know at 7:10:10 because we got traffic and weather coming up next. Then we'll get into a reaction to Rifflandia closing for good. Mike Devlin with the Victoria Times Colonist, who covers that beat, is joining us next.
From CFAX 1070.
Here's what's happening around the island.
From June 11th to 27th, you can lock in for love with the BCSPCA Victoria and raise money to help injured, homeless, and vulnerable animals right here in Victoria. June 13th from 11 to 5 at Ship Point, it's the Summer of Soccer Family Fun Day. There's free music, games, and food. Details at dvba.ca/Summer of Soccer.
Get more event info at CFAX1070.com.
If it's happening, it's here.
CFAX 1070.
CFAX 1070 traffic and weather. Listeners letting us know about a few things that have been causing them trouble on their commute, like the road work at Cook and Yates. This is kind of as you're coming down Yates Street into Victoria. Big backups are to be expected because of that ongoing work. People talking about the Craig Flower at Arm Street, single lane alternating traffic as road work continues there. It's been on for a little while now, but that just continues to cause delays on Craig Flower. You know where it doesn't have delays as much as it used to anymore? Well, it's the Bay Street Bridge, which is open both directions as of today after 4 months of not being able to leave Esquimalt. I'm exaggerating. I do that. But anyways, they're open up both directions on the Bay Street Bridge. However, it's still a construction zone, so there's still some obstructions there to watch out for. And Pandora 900 block, they're going to be doing a cleanup, which is going to affect traffic both for vehicles, cyclists, and BC Transit, all affected in the 900 block of Pandora because of a big cleanup that's going on starting in about 10 minutes.
Let's get started.
Start your day informed and entertained. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
Let's continue covering the end of Rifflandia, the iconic Victoria Music Festival. We've got Victoria Times columnist, writer Mike Devlin on the line. He covers all this stuff, entertainment stuff going on in the city so well in his column, and we wanted to get him to weigh in on this with us here. So Mike Devlin, great to chat with you. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right. Although I got to admit, a little bummed about Rifflandia. And we were just talking about this beforehand. It was kind of neat to have this music festival in Victoria that kind of put us on the map. This wasn't, just a local thing. This was the thing that people came to know us for. It's come to an end, and I wanted to get your thoughts on the news.
Well, further to that point, I don't think it's overstating it saying that in festival culture in Victoria, there's pre-Rifflandia and post-Rifflandia, because it did reinvent the landscape. I mean, some of the signature events of the past, of days gone by, were the Folk Fest, which was like a $2 admission kind of roving folk fest down in the Inner Harbor, or there was Jazz Fest, things like that. And then Rifflandia came along. It kind of reinvented the contemporary festival in Victoria. And it was hard to kind of bring the community up to speed at first because it was so new and kind of revolutionary at the time. But then when it found its footing, it was one of those tentpole festivals that kind of at the end of the summer, every September, people look forward to it. And, they were getting 6, 8, 10,000 people a day and bringing in acts that wouldn't normally have come here otherwise. So it's a huge loss for the city, even if you didn't go every year, even if it wasn't your chosen type of music. The economic impact of it and the amount of money that it generated will be sorely missed.
I thought it was fascinating to hear from Nick Blasco, the organizer, in the announcement yesterday, say that it never turned a profit. Because I think, if you saw what you just described for all these years, 18 years of it, they did 15 festivals in those 18 years. You would kind of look at it and think this is a success. This is working. But to hear it never turned a profit, that's interesting.
Well, I think it points to how expensive these events are to put on. I mean, when you're flying in, and there were some years where they had 100 artists performing over 3 days at this festival. So that each one comes with, the minutiae of it, they all come with per diems, food per diems, where they get paid out a certain amount for food each day, travel costs, and the festival itself, any festival, not just Rifflandia, is paying for those. And so the bigger it gets, the more the costs are. And there is a ceiling, and that's what we're finding now. There's a ceiling to what you can charge attendees. You can't just pass that on to ticket buyers. You can't. There's a ceiling to what people are going to pay, no matter how good it is. And so what happens is the producers and organizers end up eating part of that cost and trying to find other ways to incentivize and prop up their bottom end, but it is just so expensive now. Hotel rooms, accommodations are more expensive than ever. Food, travel, all those things that bring these acts to town just got prohibitive.
And that's not necessarily just Rifflandia, right? Like, this isn't specific to this music festival. Why don't we place this? Because we're not only seeing it here. We've been seeing the story play out in a number of ways around Victoria.
Yes, it's happened from the Herman's Jazz Club, where it required the city of Victoria to step in. Fern Fest, which is happening on Saturday, same thing. It was canceled. That's a free festival by a nonprofit charitable organization. So they were getting much of what they needed to put on that festival, either donated or contra or what have you. And even they couldn't keep that festival on. It required the city of Victoria stepping in with a $20,000 grant at the last minute to keep it afloat. I mean, it's at that point now where events are going to be going forward on a year-by-year basis.
What does this mean for Victoria and the music scene here? Like, I'm just because, we've got some successes. Like you said, Fernfest got saved, but others are not getting saved. And it just seems like it's a weird moment of uncertainty for this scene in Victoria. And I'm sure other cities across Canada are experiencing the same thing. But I don't know. What do you make of where we're at right now?
Well, I think you could go back a couple of years and see that it was leading up to this point. But I think anyone that kind of has knowledge of the situation would be surprised that it has gone this way, where there's been just outright cancellations. I mean, there's been lots of tweaks where people are announcing they're not doing it this year, but they're committed to 2027 and, trying to just take a year off, so to speak. I think it doesn't bode well, because once you take a year off, it's really hard to come back. Anything can happen between now and then. Grant funding can dry up. And what's becoming clear for those community events, it's requiring grant funding or they're not going to take place. And in that perspective, there's only so much the three levels of government can prop up these events. So what happens is you lose that what makes a livable city, right? You want to have everything. You want to have transit. You want to have bike lanes. You want to have housing. You want to have food security. But also what makes a great city is festivals and arts and culture. And it's not just music. It's everything from the Moss Street Paint-In, the Art Gallery's Paint-In, to Symphony Splash, which has been folded into the David Foster celebration this summer. So, in effect, Symphony Splash is not taking place this summer. So you're seeing it ripple through, and it's not just the contemporary music fan that goes to Rifflandia. It's everything.
Is there hope? Do you got hope that, we're going to figure this out and kind of get something going into the future? Or I don't know. How do you feel about it?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard unless the recessions recedes and people have more expendable money. I mean, this is just a reflection, I think, of the state of the world and how expensive it is. Gas prices, lending rates by the Bank of Canada, things like that. All that goes into, people are going to prioritize food and shelter and everything first. Then the bonus is, I've got a little bit left over. I can go to Rifflandia. I can go to Jazz Fest. I can go to what have you. And you see what happens now is if everyone's tightening their purse strings, this is the kind of thing that goes. We saw it during the pandemic when the restaurants were taking the hit because people were like, I'm just going to stay at home. It's safer, but it's also cheaper. And so restaurants took that hit and needed a bailout. I just think it might be a sign of the future. It also requires, and you're seeing success stories where it requires a different approach than it previously did. In the past, 25 years ago, you'd get a title sponsor. TD would underwrite the Jazz Fest and write a huge check, and that would enable them, in tandem with regional grants and such, to be able to put on a festival and make it profitable. Now those title sponsorships are going. You saw that at jazz festivals across Canada, where title sponsors, it used to be De Maurier cigarettes, and then it was TD, and they have all pulled title sponsorships. So now that just takes cash in hand away from a festival, and now they've got to do a hybrid festival where they rethink it 2 days down to 1 day, or paid festival down to a free festival, but then the level of programming suffers and less people show up. And for an advertiser, that's what you want. You want people showing up and eyes on the product that you're advertising. If the less people show up, maybe the following year that advertiser doesn't dip its toe in the pool. And so you see it's a bit of a recurring thing. I do think it will recover. Victoria has never been without a really good summer calendar. So I think it just is requiring people to go back to the drawing board. And I think collateral damage, like the Harbor Blues and Roots Festival, which was canceled this summer, formerly known as Blues Bash, Rifflandia being canceled, a big festival up in Courtenay, the Vancouver Island Music Festival, was canceled last year. These are festivals that have been around for 30 years. So maybe FernFest continues just with a different mandate, a different model. And that's probably where we're at, is we have to reflect the times that we're living in, and that just may be smaller footprints going forward.
Mike Devlin, he writes about all this in the Times Colonist newspaper, and love your perspective. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right, but we're right at a time. Got to go. But before we do...